Welcome to the regular meeting for LUSD Redistricting Commission for Wednesday, October 20th at 4 p.m. Can we do a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner DeHaan?
Present.
Commissioner Franco?
Present.
Commissioner Gruhl?
I'm present.
Thank you. Commissioner Hernandez?
Present.
Commissioner Hurtado?
Present.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm present, but I'm having trouble with my sound. I'm trying to correct it.
Thank you. I know Commissioner Lopez Ledesma will join us in a minute. Commissioner Lundquist?
Present.
Looks like Commissioner Penning is not with us yet. Commissioner Sanchez? Antonio Sanchez?
Present.
Commissioner Waite is not with us yet. Vice Chair Ambris?
Present. Hi, everyone.
And Chair Sanchez.
Present.
We have 9 members, Mr. Chair, and a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, wait,
So-
excuse me, 10 members. Yeah.
10 members. Okay. Any disclosure ex parte communications?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do.
Go ahead, Commissioner
This is
Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson. On, let me see, on October the 16th, Saturday, about 4 p.m., I was in Denver, so I'm not sure what time that was, LA. I did get a call from Carolyn Fowler from Dr. McKenna's office about some discrepancies she saw on one of the maps. And I referred her to Executive Director Westfall, and I think she followed up with a call to him. On Tuesday, October the 19th, about 5 p.m., I had a conversation with Sarah Roos, who's one of the individuals who sent a map in. Today, which is the 20th, about 1 p.m., I got a voice message. I did not get to talk to the individual from Congresswoman Bass's office regarding map 2. I left him a message to send comments to Executive Director Westfall so that the whole commission could be aware of his comments. But again, that was a voicemail only, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Have Commissioner DeHaan and then Commissioner Ambris. Oh, we have a couple folks here, so go Commissioner DeHaan.
Thank you. So last Thursday, I apologize, I'm driving, so I'm not able to confirm the exact time, but I believe it was in the morning. I connected with Council President Mary Martinez's Chief of Staff, Akli Padilla, to just give him an update on our Wednesday meeting. This Monday, I think it was Monday, yes, I think it was Monday. Or was that Thursday? Sorry, Thursday evening. Again, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but Commissioner Ambris and I participated in an LAUSD committee meeting where 3 board members were present. The board members from Board District 3, 4, and 7 were present. And we presented and we had a public discussion. They made some comments and asked some questions about our process and the maps. And then Monday morning, I had a follow-up conversation with Akli Padilla about our process for this week and what we were anticipating. And then this morning we had a follow-up conversation after I was asked about potentially scheduling another meeting. So I provided an update that what I thought might be the process may not be the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner DeHaan. Vice Chair Ambris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That presentation that Commissioner DeHaan was mentioning was on October 14th at around 5 p.m. And also another to disclose is I had a conversation with the LA City Mayor's office yesterday on the 19th at 5 p.m.
Okay. Commissioner Lundquist.
Yes, at 1:20 p.m. today, I received a call from Solomon Rivera from Marquise Harris Dawson's office. He left a voicemail asking me on behalf of the council member to support map 2, and I called back at 2:44 p.m. today and explained my concerns with map 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Franco?
Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize. I'm on the road, so I can turn on my camera, but I did want to report at 10 a.m. this morning, I had a conversation with Ackley Padilla from Council President Martinez's staff about the process and just next steps based on our last conversation in the last commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez Ledesma?
Thank you. On October the 12th at about 11:50 a.m., I had a conversation with Chief of Staff for Council President Martinez, Ackley Padilla, to also just fill him in that I would have been out the following day. And then, yeah, just to do a quick update on the process. And that was all.
Okay, Commissioner Hernandez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having some issues with the mute button after all these months. Just wanted to share that I did have communication with the Office of Los Angeles Mayor just regarding the agenda for today, and that was yesterday at 5:30 p.m.
Is that everyone on ex parte communication?
Hi.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Penny. And welcome.
Sure. I had a conversation along with my fellow commissioners with staff from Mayor Garcetti's office. This was yesterday evening around 5. I also got a call and talked to Solomon Rivera from Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson's office today at around 2 p.m. They wanted to express their thinking for why map 2 was the stronger map that we were considering.
Thank you, Commissioner Penny. So I think that's everyone. Now we'll move on to discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any impact statements. Do we have any impact statements or anyone here to discuss it?
I don't, let me just scroll through the folks here, but I do not see anybody on behalf of the Encino Neighborhood Council or the West Side Neighborhood Council. So I don't believe so, Mr. Chair. As previously reported, we have received community impact statements from both of those neighborhood councils.
Okay, great, thank you. I had a hand up for Genesis. Did you have a hand up? Sorry, did you have a?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was going just to remind you, can we do an interpretation announcement?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. So that's being an interpretation announcement. Not sure who's good.
So that
Oh,
would
Ann?
be, Ann Guzman.
Okay.
Hola, buenos días. Nada más un recordatorio que hay interpretación para la reunión de hoy. Nada más van a hacer clic en la pantalla donde está el globito. Van a hacer clic ahí y elegir el idioma español. Y si quieren hacer un comentario más adelante en español, nada más lo pueden decir en español y yo lo voy a interpretar en inglés. Nada más si puede pausar después de 2 o 3 oraciones para poder dejar que yo interprete. Gracias.
Okay. There we go. So now we'll do agenda item, multiple agenda item for public comment and general public comment. So I'll pass it over to Gladys.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. In conformity with State Law AB 361, September 16, 2021, and due to concerns over COVID-19, the Los Angeles Unified School District Redistricting Commission meetings will be conducted entirely telephonically. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment via Zoom webinar on the items listed on the agenda should click on the raise hand function to request to speak. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment via phone on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-077-4991 and then press pound. Press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. And at this moment, we do have members of the public that want to give public comment. And I'd like to turn it over to the city attorney for further direction for the public.
Thank you, Gladys. To members of the public calling in to provide comment to the commission this afternoon, when it's your turn to speak, we'll announce your name, identifying information, or the last 3 digits of your phone number. When we announce your name or phone number or identifying information, then it's your turn to speak, and please immediately unmute yourself. You'll have 1 minute to speak per agenda item for 3 minutes total. We understand you might be listening to the broadcast of the meeting on the internet or another device. Because there's a time delay between the live meeting and the broadcast, please keep one ear on your phone so that you may hear when we read out your name or number or identifying information, and that you can immediately unmute yourself and press star 6. Otherwise, we might think you're no longer on the line and move on to the next speaker. Also, if you're listening to the broadcast of the meeting on the internet or another device, please immediately turn down the volume of that broadcast to avoid feedback and confusion because of the time delay. When you're speaking on agenda items, you must be on topic. If you are not speaking on the agenda items, or if we cannot tell if you're speaking on the agenda item, then you get a brief warning from me, the chair, or the executive director. If you don't immediately get back onto topic, we'll be forced to forfeit the rest of your time and move on to the next speaker. Finally, I'd like to warn you, commissioners and members of the public, that some members of the public may choose to use modes of expression that are offensive or vulgar, even including the use of racial epithets. Some of that content is First Amendment protected speech, and there's little that we can do but hear it. But to members of the public, you may turn down the volume of the broadcast if you do not wish to listen to any offensive language or vulgarities. With that, I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you. So can we take our first speakers?
Yes. First caller by the name Michelle Gallagher. Can you please unmute yourself? Okay, caller by the name Daniela Hernandez. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Daniela Hernandez, and for the past 9 years, I've worked with youth and community from Boyle Heights, East LA, Lincoln Heights, City Terrace, and El Sereno, which currently reside in Board District 2. During this time, community members have come together to advance equity in Board District 2 that has positively impacted the district as a whole. Of the options proposed, I am in support of map 2, which demonstrates the most promise as it keeps our community of interest together and stands to protect the voting rights of Black and Brown neighborhoods. I apologize, earlier I did not request to speak on both item 2 and general public comment, so I hope I can get more time for those 2 items. And I will continue my public comment. Our Eastside neighborhoods represent a community of interest composed of immigrant working class families who are predominantly tenants. We are a resilient community that has continuously come together to call for justice. From demanding A through G access for all students, to securing resources to renew wellness centers and schools, to winning the Student Equity Needs Index, Eastside youth and parents have been at the forefront of educational equity in LAUSD. And the fight for our community continues. Today, we are uniting to ensure that our Eastside neighborhoods are heard through this redistricting process. We need strong political representation to address the historic disinvestment of our community and to lead the charge as we recover from the devastations of the pandemic. MAP 2 allows for our community of interest to be better represented as LAUSD shapes the future of our public education. I urge you to support MAP 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jasmine, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can you please state the items you'd like to speak on?
I'll speak on item 2 and general comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Garcia, freshman at Roosevelt High School. I have lived in Boyle Heights all of my life, and I am here in support of MAP 2. Community has been able to come together in this district to get new schools and invest in current schools to ensure that we have schools that are. We have been able to get together and fight for A through G for all to ensure that we are able to go to college. District 2 has been in key leading with equality across the district. Please don't take away the progress that will be able to work together to ensure that our voices are being represented. I want to be able to be in a district that cares for me and fights for my higher education. This is why I am support of MAP 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment. Jamie York, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, I would like to speak on all available items.
Okay,
Also, Michelle, I'm in communication with Michelle Gallagher, and she said that she didn't get an unmute notification on her thing. So if you could please make sure you go back to her.
Sure, will do.
Thank you very much. So my name's Jamie York. I'm the secretary of the Reseda Neighborhood Council. I was previously in support of MAP 2, but there's been some changes to it. As a member of Reseda and someone that's really interested in the school situation, we really strongly feel that Reseda should not be split. And presently you have a split between 3 and 4. We want Reseda to just be in 3. We do not feel that Southern Reseda schools have a shared community of interest with schools in the Pacific Palisades. We think that our children's voices and our children's needs will be ignored. We share much more of a community interest with schools in Canoga Park, in Northridge, in other parts of the valley. So it's just absolutely imperative that you go back to this map, and for these parts of the district, make sure that we are whole as one voice. There's a number of different issues that have been occurring in our school system, particularly at Shirley Elementary School, and it's inappropriate for our district to be split. Additionally, we've never been a part of District 4, and this will be a continued disenfranchisement of the voices of Reseda. I don't know if you guys are following the LA City Council, but we're also going to be in the position where we're going to have 0% representation of the people that we originally elected at the LA City Council level. So it's really unfair that we're getting this sort of double disenfranchisement. Please do the right thing. Please keep us entirely in 3 so that the voices and needs of Reseda students can be heard, and so that we can, work together as one community. It's so incredibly important, and I really ask this commission to take this seriously. I don't call in lightly, and I don't spend my time on this lightly. We've heard from a number of individuals within our community who have asked us as members of the Reseda Neighborhood Council to speak on their behalf. So that is what we are doing. I yield the rest of my time. Then thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jeanette Gomez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, yes, speaking on item 2.
Okay, you have a minute.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jeanette Gomez, Manager of Policy and Advocacy at the Partnership for LA Schools. We currently represent LAUSD schools in districts 2, 5, and 7. And on a more personal note, I myself am a product of 3 board District 2 schools, including MSTMA at Roosevelt High School and Stevenson Middle School. I am calling to voice our support of MAP 2, which keeps our Boyle Heights and historic South Central schools, students, and families together. Protecting the integrity of the current BD2 configuration is crucial in ensuring equity in LAUSD and making sure our Black and Brown families have meaningful representation and decisions for our schools. Again, I urge you to vote for and support MAP 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Denise Wilson. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me turn this down. I apologize. And I will be talking about item number 2.
Okay, you have a minute.
Hello, Commissioner. My name is Denise Wilson, and I am the member of a community coalition. I live in the South Los Angeles area, and my children do attend LA Unified School Districts. I urge to protect District 1, 2, and 7 as presented in MAP 2. MAP 2 is the most equitable map of District 1 and South LA communities. We have led the fight for educational equity for more than 10 years in the District 1, and only recently have we begun to undo an unjust and discriminatory policy and practices in LAUSD We must continue to fight against the historical neglect and disinvestment in our area schools, which has had a general impact on our students and family. MAP 2 also does the best job of acknowledging the census undercount, displacement, and gentrification.
Thank you very much for your comment. Your time is up. Thank you. Next caller by the name Victor Marroquin. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name Victor Marroquin, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes. What
Hi,
are the items you'd like to speak on?
I'd like to speak on all items available, please.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Victor Hugo Madruquin. My pronouns are he, they, anything respectful. I'm a program, and I live in LA, and I specifically work in the Southeast LA communities, so which includes Cudahy, Bell Gardens, Huntington Park, Southgate, and all, some other more of the Southeast LA communities. I'm a program coordinator at Latino Equality Alliance, and we're primarily working with allocating resources for queer and trans youth of color in these communities. And as someone who has lived in different parts of LA, it's definitely seeing how CELA, Southeast LA, is really disenfranchised when it comes to resources for queer and trans people, like HIV prevention resources, gender affirming resources. So I think it's super important for me to jump in and be in solidarity with the Southeast LA community. I do not support MAP 2, and I please ask that you find a middle ground that will elevate and uplift the voices of the Southeast LA communities. I support MAP 1A and 1B. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Elmer Roldan. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name Elmer.
Hi.
Roldan.
Yes. Okay. Hi. My name is Elmer Roldan, and I request to speak on item 2 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Great, thank you. My name is Elmer Roldan. I'm the executive director of Communities and Schools of Los Angeles. We're a nonprofit organization serving students in school districts 1, 2, 4, and 7. I'm also a resident of South Central Los Angeles myself, which is in LAUSD's District 7, and I'm a product of LAUSD. I am calling today in support of MAP 2. In my opinion, this is the best option for the families, the neighborhoods, and the schools that my organization serves. I believe that District 2 retains the commitment of not only expanding, but also protecting the voting rights of the communities that we serve, which are low income, Black, Indigenous, Asian, and Brown neighborhoods. We need a better representation from folks who understand the needs, the people that live in the communities that we serve. And MAP 2, in my opinion, strengthens that concentration of voters in areas that have been historically underrepresented, ignored, and marginalized by both the public and the private sector. So MAP 2 provides a level playing field for LAUSD board representatives that reflect our communities and who will work to improve the quality of schools, which quite frankly need a lot of work as opposed to retaining the status quo. Other maps that I've observed break up districts and give an unfair advantage to communities that have more power, more resources, and are wealthier. And so MAP 2 instead narrows the economic disparities and builds unity between communities of parents and students that have vested success in the public school system. So thank you so much for hearing and making the right choice today.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Estrella Salazar. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, I'm speaking on item number 2 in general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Estrella Salazar. I lived in Boyle Heights for 15 years and I'm a junior at Lincoln High School. As you adopt the final map, I'm here again asking commissioners to keep District 2 the way that it currently is, and the map that best reflects that is map number 2. Map number 2 represents the families of diverse communities who see eye to eye on specific issues surfacing our day-to-day lives. The other maps lump the East Side with affluent communities where it's clear our needs are not the same. Students from affluent communities can drive home in their personal cars and come home to a family with dinner on the way. I need to catch 2 buses to get home. When I get home from school, my parents aren't home to ask me how my day went because they're stuck in traffic, commuting back from work. Like many of my friends, my peers, and East Side students, we don't have the same freedom to get home and work on ourselves. We have other responsibilities. We need to be there for others before we are even there for ourselves. We take care of our siblings or our relatives. Many I know don't even get to go home. They need to work to support their families. While a student within an affluent community may be working extra shifts to pay off their grad night packages, students from the East Side are working extra shifts to support paying rent. My day-to-day isn't a direct reflection of somebody who lives in affluent areas that don't match the characteristics of the East Side. Other communities wouldn't understand my needs or my friends' needs. I'm here to influence the next 10 years by supporting map number 2 because it best represents the East Side so that community voices continue to be uplifted and heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Zulema Camacho. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name Zulema Camacho. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Okay, I will go to the next caller. Caller by the name Edward Ramirez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
I'd like to speak on all items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Cool, so my name is Edward Ramirez. I was born and raised on the East Side in Boyle Heights. Have a godson who currently goes to school. He's in 2nd grade and goes to Anton Elementary. I also work as a college and career advisor for high schools located in District 2. So specifically working with students from Mendez High School and Roybal Learning Center. I'm here as a representative for the youth that I serve to urge you to protect District 2. The students I represent experience totally different living and school conditions than those in District 5. So map 2 would be the most equitable map for communities of color as we seek to protect youth from histories of disinvestment and discriminatory policies. The boundaries in map 2 protect the voices of my community. So by seeking to change and break up these districts will only dilute the political power for Black and Brown people. I believe these districts should represent the communities they service by allowing the ability to elect representatives with shared interests and representatives who center equity. Having the boundary line that allows residents from historically neglected communities creates a space of transformational healing by disrupting harmful cycles of racist practices. Map 2 honors the tireless work of students and families in East LA and in South LA as we work towards an equitable future for all Black and Brown youth. I ask that you support map 2 to protect youth within the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jessica Panduro. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, good afternoon. I'll be speaking on item 2 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, commissioners. Thank you for your long and extensive work in this process. As we're coming to an end and final decision on the maps, I want to show my support for map 2. As a resident of Boyle Heights, and before Boyle Heights, I lived in Lincoln Heights and El Sereno. I have been in the East Side for over 28 years. Throughout the years, I have seen the most change in the last 10 years. It is important that you consider the extensive work that communities have been able to do in the past 10 years. This map is the most equitable for East Side residents. Map 2 would give us the opportunity to keep fighting for educational equity across LAUSD. Having district lines that allow residents from historically neglected communities to have a voice and say in who represents them is transformational. This is how we got new schools, A through G for all, and how we ensure that we distribute funds equitable throughout the district. When we fight, we win. We already have so much adversity against us. Don't create district lines that will strip away our voices and what we have been able to accomplish. We have begun to undo unjust and discriminatory policies and practices in our schools, districts, but our work is not done. And to repair the harm, the historical neglect and disinvestment that has had in our communities and our schools, this is why I support MAP to support our youth and pushing towards equity. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much for your comment. Caller by the name Zulema Camacho, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Once again, Zulema Camacho, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Next caller by the name Kalani R, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello?
Hello, can you please state the items you'd like to speak on?
I'd like to speak on all items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, Commissioner. My name is Kalani Robinson, and I work in South Los Angeles as an organizer. I specifically would like to speak on BD 1, 2, and 7. This afternoon presented in MAP 2. MAP 2 honors and displays the tireless work of students and families in South LA and East LA as we work to center equity in the LAUSD. We have all witnessed the transition over the last decade of how redistricting has affected South LA with the lack of beautification, consistent sanitization, lack of appropriate funding towards our public education systems, potholes and racist encounters and policies, which have cost lives due to the process which hasn't been properly done for over 30 years. We must continue to fight against the historical neglect and the disinvestment in our areas of schools, which has had a generational impact on our students and in our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Manuel Urrutia, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, I would like to speak on the second item of the agenda, which is discussing the maps, and point out that I should be getting 3 if I'm going to be talking about the maps qualities. I wanted to point out that map 2, all the communities mentioned in there stay together in the latest map proposed by Ms. Sarah Roos. To pretend that the map from Ms. Roos is an attack on their community seems to me rather disingenuous and doesn't pay attention to what is going on in the actual maps. To demand that map 2 be adopted is essentially to continue the gerrymandering of the community in which Southeast LA finds itself. There is no reason for this map to continue to remain. In fact, Ms. Ru's map is almost identical in the east side to the map that MALDEF proposed back in 2012. It seems to me, therefore, that this push for map 2 is really a political issue. Has nothing to do with service to the community or splitting the community or keeping the community together. I would also like to point out that the map proposed by Ms. Roos satisfies the concerns of the Reseda community, presented by Ms. Jamie York earlier today, as well as the concerns of the Encino Neighborhood Council presented on September 29. The map that has been created by Ms. Roos is the best possible change that we have to have something that is viable and acceptable to the courts. Indeed, part of it goes across the city in order to keep Venice and Westchester in 7. But that's only because the numbers work out that way. I am sure that if more work is done, Venice and Westchester high schools could be joined to District 1, and District 1 could give up Washington Prep and make up the numbers. But that is up to the staff of the commission to figure out how this is going to work And quite frankly, it seems to me that no matter what is presented to the board today, the final negotiations will occur outside of the public eye because political interest will make sure that pressure is brought upon each and every one of your commissioners and the result will be a compromise that will please no one except certain people looking forward to the future. I urge the commissioners to look at the maps carefully, to demand changes, to get the staff to work better for you. True, Ms. Ruse and I have provided several maps, but I don't see anybody else providing numbers to you and making a point for their preferred maps based on the numbers on the ground, not on political realities. We want something that will keep communities together, but to pretend that only two does it, it is not an appropriate use of the public resources. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Erica Jimenez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
Hi, I would like to speak on item number 2 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, hi, my name is Erica Jimenez, and I'm a long-term resident of Boyle Heights. I am calling in support of map 2. I am in support of map 2 because map 2 is a more equitable map of District 2, and it will keep East Side voices represented. In the last 10 years, we have made huge strides in the East Side, such as the example of the Roosevelt Modernization Project that was approved to build a state-of-the-art school for students in Boyle Heights. And in order to continue making strides for our community, this is why District 2 makes up the majority, and so District 2 makes up the majority of Spanish-speaking first-generation families, and it needs to remain intact. If it was to be split up or to join the Northeast schools like the 1A map does show, the voices of communities like Boyle Heights would probably not be as listened to. And so I asked the commissioners today to listen to Eastside voices and vote in support of map 2 to ensure that District 2 has a voice for racial equity and educational justice. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Christian Cardenas. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Christian Cardenas. I'd like to speak on all available items, please.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Cool. So, hi, folks. Thank you for all the work that you've done with this. My name is Christian Cardenas. I was born, raised, and I live in Lincoln Heights. I was an LAUSD student throughout all of my life. I'm a proud Lincoln Tiger. I'm just here to ask to please use map 2. It keeps District 2 together and ensures proper representation for the East Side. After years of disinvestment and apathy to communities on the East Side, we fought for a representative district. And that win has been pivotal as we have been able to fight for and win new schools, more equitable policies, and necessary updates. And this has been achieved by finally having the representation we deserve and fought for. So please don't take that away from the good people of the East Side. Lincoln Heights, Boyle Heights, and El Sereno, we're clearly communities of interest as we have large immigrant populations, lower income levels, and have suffered from years of disinvestment. We have little in common with our more affluent neighbors to the north and do not share the same organizing goals. So I'm just asking to please use map 2 to keep District 2 a strong district. When District 2, when we fight for equitable policies, all low income communities benefit because we're not just fighting for our own, we're just trying to improve things and have LAUSD just take more equity into their decisions. So I think it's really important to have a strong District 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jennifer Hunt. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. What items?
Can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
On all available items.
Okay.
All available items, please.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Hunt. I am on the Reseda Neighborhood Council and am the chair of the Education Committee in Reseda. Today I speak for myself. I am very concerned about this map because it splits Reseda schools up. It is so important for our community for these schools to stay together in one district. Our schools need to be in District 3. We've never been in District 4, and our constituents are very concerned that we will be ignored in that district. We have much more in common with the communities in District 3. It is so important for our schools to stay together. I actually live in the district that would be separated. I'm
Should we move on to next? Seems like she got cut off.
Okay, we will move to the following. Next caller by the name Conrado Guerrero. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, good afternoon. I would like to speak on items 2 and general comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Conrado Guerrero. I am a resident of District 2 and proud president of SEIU Local 99. We are 50,000 strong school employees and family childcare providers who serve the children and families of LAUSD. We are education workers, parents, voters, and members of the community. On behalf of our union, I want to express our support for draft map 2. It is the only map that keeps our communities together and protects the voting rights of Black and brown neighborhoods. Map 2 strengthens the concentration of voters in key districts that represent areas like East LA, South LA, and the Southeast cities and the San Fernando Valley. Map 2 will help communities like mine elect representatives that reflect our community and who will work to improve schools and working conditions. Other maps break up existing districts and give an unfair advantage to communities that are wealthy and white. Communities that make up Southeast Los Angeles, for example, should not be lumped in with voters in downtown luxury skyrises that send their children to private schools. Map 2 instead narrows economic disparities and builds unity between communities and parents and workers who have a vested interest in the success of our public education system. The commission should be doing everything in their power to protect the rights of voters to elect their representatives. Map 2 does the best job at ensuring equity for voter and keeping communities together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Agnes Braga. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Thank you. I will be speaking on items 2 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Agnes Braga. I'm a mother of 2 and a resident of District 5. I work at LAUSD as a speech language pathology assistant and proudly serve as secretary of SEIU Local 99. I'm concerned about LAUSD's attempt to move me and my community out of the district we have been a part of for decades. Maps 1A and 1B will cut tens of thousands of us out of our own district. Our board member, who was elected with overwhelming support just last year, will be replaced by someone who has never represented our community. Map 2 brings communities together and is the best representation of equity. I have worked with students and families across the district. The work to improve outcomes for kids is directly tied to our community's ability to elect a board that understands the diverse needs of our students and parents. We need to build unity between communities, not break them apart. Please adopt a map that keeps communities together. Thank you, and I hope you will support the community demand for map 2.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Aurea Montes Rodriguez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, good afternoon. I'd like to speak on items 2 and general comment.
Okay.
My name's Aurea. Thank you. My name's Aurea Montes Rodriguez. I am a resident of District 7. I also work at Community Coalition, a social justice organization, and I've been at my organization for over 20 years. And I grew up in South Los Angeles and am a product of LAUSD. Map 2 is the most equitable equitable map for District 1 with the largest Black CVAP and protecting different South LA neighborhoods. Map 2 also does the best job of taking into account the census undercount, the harsh effects of displacement and gentrification, and the disproportionate devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic that has impacted communities like South LA, and that will feel the impacts of the pandemic for decades to come with a widening achievement gap. In coalition with other organizations across the district, we've led the fight for educational equity for more than 20 years. Our young people have won game-changing policies to increase graduation rates, college going rates, investment in Black student achievement, and this year they gain a commitment to bring $700 million to high and highest need schools across the district. We must continue the fight against the historic neglect and disinvestment in high need schools. The boundaries shown in map 2 will protect communities, especially South LA, East LA, Southeast LA. Breaking these districts apart will only divide our voices and our ability to elect representatives that reflect the shared interest of our communities and representatives who center equity. I urge you to vote yet in support of map 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Elizabeth Liz Lugo. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I would like to speak on items 2 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Elizabeth Lugo, and I'm a proud parent of a recent graduate of Garfield High School in East LA. My son is a first year attending University of UC Riverside on a full scholarship. And today I speak before this commission as it is urgent and important that your decision reflects the true needs of my community. I myself was born and raised in unincorporated East LA. I witnessed firsthand the challenges of LAUSD schools in my neighborhood over 20 years ago. I was so fortunate to have been able to dedicate my activism to improving educational opportunities for my local community. I am here to state my support for MAP 2 because of the work of our collective community organizing efforts for greater investment and positive change. Our Eastside schools have greatly improved. Now we have new schools, college prep for all, and greater funding for our highest need schools. Because of these transformative changes, I decided to send my son to our LAUSD neighborhood schools. I stood side by side with other parents and residents that demanded better and demanded more, and my son benefited greatly from this impactful work. And now, for the next 10 years, we need representation on LAUSD school board that will value and respect East LA students and families. It is imperative that our communities not only remain united in Board District 2 with the rest of the East Side, but that the current configuration of Board District 2 is maintained to ensure that we continue to advance the best educational opportunities for our students and that have great need and are faced with greater challenges. Your decision today has great impact on our children's futures. I urge you, our redistricting commissioners, to vote in support of MAP 2 and continue to advance educational justice for all our students for generations to come. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Sandra Guzman. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, I'll be speaking on item number 2 in general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sandra Guzman. I've had the privilege and honor of working with the East Los Angeles community these past 2 years, supporting housing and COVID relief efforts. The East Side is a community made up of hardworking class families of color, of Mexican origin, who work hard to provide their families and to support their children and getting the education that will support them in making their academic and career dreams come true. I am here submitting my public comment in agreement with MAP 2. With MAP 2, our communities get to stay intact. We will also have the boundaries that will allow the residents from our historically neglected communities to have a say in needs for their schools and in turn their children's education. In the past 10 years, Eastside communities have fought hard to make sure we are seen and heard, and our call for equity in our schools is taken seriously by our leaders. Together, we've won the adaptation of SENI by the school board. In the next 10 years, we'll secure it and make sure all our children have access to schools ready to meet their needs. With all that being said, I strongly support that MAP 2 is adopted as its most equitable option for the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Ama Yamaki. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
I'd like to speak on item 2.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
I'm an LAUSD parent of 3 kids in Board District 5. I'm also a proud member of the PTA, and I strongly support the adoption of MAP 2. I prefer MAP 2 because I think it fairly and accurately represents our district, especially our Black and Brown neighbors in that area, and it keeps critical communities of interest intact. I firmly believe that those who are the closest to the pain of systemic inequities have the most to lose and gain through redistricting. So with challenges from the pandemic to gentrification and disinvestment, it's unconscionable to adopt a map that would break up and disenfranchise communities acutely and negatively impacted by these issues. Let's keep our community together. Let's support equity, and I urge you to adopt MAP 2.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Luis Andrade. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
I'd like to speak on item 2.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Luis Andrade. I was born and raised in Boyle Heights. I'm calling to be a solidary with the Southeast community. I do not support MAP 2, so I urge you and I ask that you find a middle ground that will elevate and uplift the voices of the Southeast communities. I support MAP 1A and 1B. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Eddie Martinez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, hi, my name is Eddie Martinez. I'd like to speak on all agenda items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
So I live in Huntington Park. I'm the vice mayor of Huntington Park. And what I've been listening to a lot is the word is equity. And I think folks need to look at the history of what has happened over the past 10 years. I think the East Side, definitely Boyle Heights and East LA, they really had a disadvantage about 10 years ago. But I think what happened over the years, they were able to organize and get support, especially like from strong organizations and unions, and that is great. But what has happened in the Southeast is we're behind. We don't have the resources. We're not as organized. Probably don't have support for some of the unions. That's okay. You know, if we're not City of LA, you know, we're our own city, that's all fine. But if we're talking about equity, you got to talk about the community that's been at a disadvantage. And I think moving forward, I think we need to think about how can we uplift the voices of the Southeast region. So I'm not here to be selfish and say, you know what, I just want 1A and I let the East Side struggle with the Northeast. No, I'm here saying find a middle ground that's going to uplift the voices of the Southeast as well maintain the voices of the East Side. So I'm asking you to find a middle ground. I'm not supportive of MAP 2, and please do this for the entire gente, for all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Memo Alvarez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, I would like to speak on item 2 and public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Guillermo Alvarez. I am a youth organizer with Community Coalition. I've been working in South LA and LAUSD District 1 for about a year. And I also have family and younger cousins who attend public schools in District 2 in Boyle Heights. I urge you to protect Districts 1, 2, and 7 as presented in MAP 2. I believe MAP 2 is the most equitable map for not only District 2, but as well as District 1 and the South LA communities. Considering the youth that I work with and my family and younger cousins attending middle school in Hollenbeck and Roosevelt High, I urge and support the map 2. And I also want to raise awareness for all the unjust and the discriminatory policies and practices in the LAUSD districts. The boundaries shown in map 2 will protect the voices and all the historically disinvented communities that reflect the shared interests of our community and represent and who center equities. So I am in full support for map 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Bart Whale. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name Bart Wheel, can you please unmute yourself and state the items that you'd like to speak on?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
I would like to speak today on item number 2 and general public comment, please.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Bart Weil, and I work as a special education assistant at Stephen White Middle School in the city of Carson. I support students with special needs, and I'm also a proud member of the SEIU Local 99 Executive Board, where I serve as my union's elected representative for District Number 7. Today, I'm here to add my voice to the people who are calling on the commission to keep our communities together. To me, map 2 seems like the only map that really has something for everybody. Map number 2 preserves District 7, and it also strengthens the number of African-American voters in District Number 1, and also Latino voters in Districts 2, 5, and 6. Map 2 achieves these things without having to break up neighborhoods or flip districts. The other maps look like they needlessly divide communities and swap out representatives. We need at this time to build unity between communities and not break them apart. So I'm asking today that you guys please adopt the map that keeps communities together and support map number 2. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Manny Rangel. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Manny Rangel, and I'm here to speak on item 2.
Okay, you have a minute.
Thank you. I'm a father of a 9-year-old boy in 3rd grade and a 13-year-old girl in 7th grade. And as I said, I'm here in support and to speak in support of map 2. Map 2 protects the voting rights of low-income Black, Asian, and Brown neighborhoods. The other maps break up existing districts and give an unfair advantage to communities that have more power, resources, and are wealthier. Communities in Los Angeles deserve boundaries that are representative of vulnerable communities. I ask you, do not drown the voices of those vulnerable communities. And I'm calling on this commission to take these things into consideration and support map 2. Appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Frank G. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Frank Garcia. I'd like to speak on item number 2, public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
So as a parent and a council member in the city of Maywood, I'm here to support changing our maps. Map 2 will never give the Southeast communities an ability to have our voices heard. Please consider map 1B so that our community members in Maywood and the rest of the Southeast may also have a voice. Thank you so much for your time. That's my comment.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jen Baca. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. I'm here today to speak on item 2 and public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jen Baca and I'm a former teacher and currently work with SEIU Local 99. Our members represent 50,000 school employees and childcare providers. They're parents, workers, voters, and members of the LAUSD community. I'm here today to urge you to vote in support of map 2. Map 2 retains a commitment to expanding voter rights of low-income communities, neighborhoods, and upholds a commitment to equity. It strengthens the concentration of voters from vulnerable communities such as East LA, South LA, the Southeast cities, and San Fernando Valley. We need to ensure that the map selected today will work to improve the quality of schools for our students and will allow for candidates to rise up and represent communities that are historically disenfranchised. I strongly urge the commission to keep communities together, support equity, and vote for MAP 2. I appreciate your consideration for MAP 2. Thank you.
Okay. Next caller by the name Henry Perez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yeah, good evening. I'd like to speak on all items, please.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Great. So my name is Henry Perez, and I'm here to speak in support of MAP 2. I am a father of 2 children in Alley Unified School District, a 4th grader and a 7th grader. I'd like to share that my family has been a part of Alley Unified School District since the early 1900s. My grandfather graduated from Garfield High School, and my dad graduated from Garfield High School, both in the East Side. And their experience was one of tracking, low expectations, corporal punishment, right, for being Mexican and speaking Spanish. They had basically a low quality educational experience that when it was time for me to send my kids to school, they were so against sending my kids to Alley Unified that they said, choose private school, choose Catholic school, but don't send them to Alley Unified. However, over the last 10, 15 years, I have seen a tremendous amount of positive change in Alley Unified School District that I feel very confident now in sending my kids to Alley Unified. And the reason that the change has happened in Alley Unified has been because East Side leaders have pushed for this change. East Side leaders have introduced a lot of reform and policy change to undo those like unjust practices and policies, because they have had a clear mandate from the East Side community to transform our public schools and improve schools, the quality of education, not just for East Side families, but for all families in high need neighborhoods throughout Alley Unified School District. Now, we want to keep that going. These are not political interests. This is community interest. To say this is political interest is to like have ignored the dozens and dozens of youth, former LAUSD students, workers, parents that have spoken in favor of MAP 2 so that we can keep the fight going. We can keep changing our district for the better. We are the East Side. We are organized. We have fought to improve our school district. We will continue to fight to improve our school district. And we need District 2 to stay the same so that we can continue this fight, not just for the East Side, but for all of LAUSD. Please support MAP 2, which will allow us to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Carlos Leon. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
I would like to speak on item 2 and general comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, commissioners. My name is Carlos Leon. I am a resident of South Central LA and a member of Community Coalition. I grew up in South LA and work in South LA. I attended LAUSD, Bethune Middle School, and Fremont High School. My family has lived in the community for 3 decades now. I urge all of you to please think of equity and to protect districts 1, 2, 7 as presented in MAP 2. MAP 2 is the most equitable map, the only equitable map that I see for District 1 and South LA communities. We have led the fight for educational equity for more than 10 years in District 1. Inequities and injustices that I experienced and have continued to fight against Only recently have we begun to undo unjust and discriminatory policies and practices in LAUSD. We must continue to fight against the historical neglect and disinvestment in our area schools, which has had a generational impact in our schools and families. MAP 2 does the best job of acknowledging the census undercount, displacement, and current gentrification displacement Black and brown people on the streets. It also reflects people's lived experiences and the impact of COVID-19, which impacted us at the most. Lastly, MAP 2 honors the tireless work of students and families in South Central LA and East LA as we work to center equity and racial justice in LAUSD. The boundaries shown in MAP 2 will protect the voices of historically disinvested communities. Breaking these districts apart will only divide up our voices and our ability to elect representatives that reflect the shared interest of our communities and representatives who center equity at the forefront. Thank you for your time. It's time to do the right thing.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Isabel Gonzalez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
Yes, I'll be speaking on item 2 and giving general comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Isabel Gonzalez. I'm a former LAUSD graduate, and for the past 10 years, I have formed deep roots as an educator and community ally with Eastside students and families. I've worked with both parents and students from Eastside communities to advocate and organize to bring attention to the vast need of support services and resources in our highest need communities. I call this afternoon to show my support for the adaptation of MAP 2 for District 2, as this map is the most equitable map for District 2 and Eastside communities. It's essential that we protect District 2 through the implementation of this map. We, the Eastside communities, can attest that the fight for educational equity has been led in the last 10 years by District 2. Together, our communities have begun the fight to unravel the decades-long discriminatory policies and practices in our school district that have upheld the infrastructures of systemic racism, the school-to-prison pipeline, and through neglect and purposeful inaction have blocked the pathway towards economic mobility for Black and brown families in our city. I hope you join me and support the implementation of MAP 2 for District 2 so that together our communities can continue our fight for the educational equity that will safeguard the education for all our children in our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Glenn Bailey. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. What items
Okay.
would you like to speak on?
General public comments, item 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thanks. With regards to items 3 and 4, I'm at a loss to understand how it is that the public can comment on these reports of the 2 officers indicated before they've even heard the reports. So that just seems kind of backwards to me. With regards to the balance of my comments, I've looked at the revised map 1A and map 2, and from the perspective of the San Fernando Valley, and as far as I can tell, they look exactly the same. They are both deficient significantly because they do not respect the boundary lines of neighborhood councils. And by the way, in a previous meeting of this commission, a number of meetings ago, I pointed out how the legend of your maps don't even include the boundary lines of neighborhood councils. And yet you include the Los Angeles Times boundary lines. That, neighborhood councils are certified by the city. They are a city entity, and there's 99 of them. I don't understand why this commission, why this mapping process is not, how can you respect the lines of neighborhood councils if you don't even have them on your legend, you don't even have them on your map? So that, I'm going to repeat that deficiency there. And with regards to the San Fernando Valley, both of these maps are deficient. They do not keep neighborhood councils whole. They do not keep the West Valley in a single district. And in fact divided, and they divides individual neighborhoods. So as far as I'm concerned, these from the perspective of the West San Fernando Valley, these maps are no better than what we have now. They need to go back to the drawing board. Unfortunately, you don't have time to go back to the drawing board. So I don't know why Mulholland Drive is not being respected as a demarcation line, and you start from there with regards to the valley. That is a serious error of judgment by this commission, and it is a serious slap in the face of all of those affected communities: Encino, Tarzana, Woodland Hills, Reseda, Winnetka, and I'm sure there's others as well. So I am very, very disappointed in this. And it does seem like you took a step back from the original map 2, which I did speak in support of previously with a couple of minor amendments. And so, but it wasn't minorly amended. It was majorly, frankly, destroyed, and to the detriment of West Valley residents. And all I have to say is shame on you for doing so. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jackie Contreras. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Mi nombre es María Medina. Soy miembro de la comunidad de Community Coalition. Vivo en el sur de Los Ángeles, en la calle 85 y Main, que está en el distrito 7. Mi hija asiste a la escuela Fremont. He vivido en mi comunidad durante 20 años en el número 7. Les insisto a proteger el distrito 1, 2 y 7 como se presenta en el mapa 2. El mapa 2 es el mapa más equitativo para la comunidad del distrito 1 del sur de Los Ángeles. Hemos liderado la lucha por la equidad durante durante más de 10 años en el distrito 1. Solo recientemente.
Disculpe, ¿podemos hacer una traducción de su comentario?
Estoy tomando apuntes si quiere hacer todo el
Ok,
comentario
muy
como
bien,
ustedes
sigue.
desean.
Sí, sigue.
Está
Ok,
bien,
gracias.
está bien.
Gracias, Andy.
Que han sido líderes en la lucha por equidad y si puede continuar desde ahí.
Equidad durante más de 10 años en el distrito 1 y solo recientemente hemos comenzado a deshacer las prácticas injustas. Debemos continuar la lucha contra la indigencia histórica.
Ok, muchas gracias por su comentario. El tiempo ya se acabó.
Okay, hi, this is Maria Medina. I'm with the Community Coalition. I live in South LA on 85th and Main in District 7, and my daughter attends Fremont School. I've lived for 20 years in the community in District 7, and I want to protect Districts 1, 2, and 7 as seen in Map 2. Map 2 is the most equitable for District 1 in South LA, and we have been leaders in the fight for equity for more than 10 years in District 1 and have just recently began to undo the unjust practices that we see there. We would like to continue to fight against the historic injustice that we've seen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller by the name Fellowship Community Coalition. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yeah, this is Miguel Dominguez. Hey, y'all. My name is Miguel Dominguez, and I am the graduate of LAUSD and currently a staff member at Community Coalition, where I've worked with Black and Brown students, parents, and families from Board District 1, 7 for the last 80 years. I grew up in South Central, and all my family continues to reside there. And my nieces and nephews all attend schools in Board District 7 and 2. I'm also speaking on all items. I urge you to protect Districts 1, 2, and 7 as presented in Map 2. Map 2 is one of the most equitable, it's the most equitable map for high and highest need communities, including South LA. Our communities have organized and have fought to undo the unjust and discriminatory policies and practices in LAUSD to move us closer to a vision for racial equity that addresses historical neglect and disinvestment in our area schools, which has had a generational impact on our students and family. This includes, but it's not limited to, equitable funding through the CENI, access to A-G courses for all students, moving away from punitive discipline policies that disproportionately target Black and Brown students, and funding Black student achievement. These policies have all benefited high and highest needed communities throughout the district. MAP 2 honors the tireless work of students and families in South LA and the East Side and ensures that our communities can keep fighting for what is right and just for our students, parents, and families. This is even more important now as our communities continue to do the work to address the challenges and crises created by COVID-19 that have disproportionately negatively impacted our communities in South LA and the East Side. The boundaries shown in MAP 2 will protect the voices and the power of historically disinvested communities. This will allow our communities to continue to do the equitable and powerful work that can only come from true organized grassroots efforts and voices that are critical to decision-making within LAUSD. Breaking up the districts apart will only divide our voices, power, and our ability to elect representatives that reflect the shared interests of our communities and representatives who center racial equity. Thank you for your consideration and for doing what is right by protecting high and highest need communities with MAP 2.
Thank you very much for your comment. Caller with the last 3 digits, 988. Can you please use *6 to unmute yourself and let us know what items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, I'd like to speak to all items.
Okay, and your name?
My name is Alberto Retana. I'm president and CEO of Community Coalition. I come to you today as a community leader who has worked for, now over 2 decades in advancing racial justice in LAUSD. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was what I think you can do as you move forward in making a decision. I know you all have rigorously looked at key data, census undercounts, DBAP, protected communities, communities of interest, and you can probably slice multiple maps different ways. But one thing you can't slice is the role that the South Los Angeles and East Los Angeles have played in historically advancing racial justice and educational equity in Los Angeles. Every single major reform, from removing school police to A to G to new school construction, has been grounded in the fight of people on the ground in South and East LA who have been preserved and been working together in these communities of interest. I think it would be a travesty to the history of the work that we've done and potentially unravel many of the years of change that we've been able to accomplish if we were to break up the possibility, or even the possibility of breaking up those families from continuing to work together. I think if you have an interest in equity, if you have an interest in justice, if you have an interest in the future of Los Angeles, the last thing you want to do is turn your back on the communities that have historically advanced justice in our district. For this reason, I urge you to support MAP 2. I believe MAP 2 is the best map that preserves that history, that preserves that justice, and will continue moving us forward onward. Thank you all so much for your time, and good luck with you all in your vote later today.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by name LGK40. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name LGK40. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Okay, going to the next caller. Caller by the name Outreach LEA. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
Item number 2, please.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Jason Cumplido and I live in Boyle Heights. I'm calling to be in solidarity with the Southeast community. I do not support map number 2. We ask that you find middle ground that will elevate and uplift the voices of the Southeast communities. I support map 1A and 1B. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Alejandro Mendoza. Can you please unmute yourself and let us know what items you'd like to speak on?
Oh, probably move to the next speaker now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
I'm speaking on item 2.
Okay, you have a minute.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Mendoza. I am a student who lives in District 2. I live in Boyle Heights and I attend Roosevelt High School. I am in support of map 2 because map 2 is more equitable map of District 2. We need to keep District 2 together because we come from the same background and similar community interests. District 2 is working class community, Spanish speaking, hardworking, and first generation students. Our voices are listened to being kept together. If we were to be separated, our community voice might be diluted. I ask you to keep District 2 together. Commissioners, please listen to the community voices like mine and who lives in District 2. And I recommend map 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Okay, next caller by the name Norma Rodriguez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, can folks hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
Item 2.
Okay, you have a minute.
Good evening. My name is Norma Rodriguez, and I'm the Director of Education Programs and Policy at the United Way of Greater LA. United Way IDs the root causes of poverty and works strategically to solve them by building alliances across all sectors, funding targeted programs, and advocating for change. Today, I'm here in support of MAP 2. Our history and trajectory at United Way in championing equity includes supporting A through G efforts, the Class Coalition-led Close the Gap Reso, and ongoing efforts to center equity throughout the district in order to support and resource our highest needs in students and their families, which is why we support MAP 2. This is the best option for our communities and schools. It retains the commitment to expand and protect the voting rights of low-income Black, Indigenous, Asian, and Brown neighborhoods. It strengthens the concentration of Black and Brown voters in areas that have been historically underrepresented and provides a level playing field for LAUSD board reps that reflect our communities. I urge you to support MAP 2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Ana Godoy. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, I'm speaking on item number 2 and general comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
All right. Hello, my name is Ana Godoy. I've lived in Southgate my entire life, and for the past 4 years, I have been working with students and parents in the East Side. I'm here to continue to uplift the need to keep District 2 in a configuration that will keep our voices strong, which MAP 2 best reflects. MAP 2 best reflects what the East Side has been advocating throughout this process. It is a map that will continue to uplift the voices of communities who have the same need and have fought to advance an equitable education. As someone who lives in the Southeast, I do not favor MAP 1A and 1B because affluent communities will be pawned off to the East Side. Although the East Side will be kept together, their collective power will diminish from other communities of interest. I agree that the Northeast region, which includes Atwater Village, Hollywood Hills, and Glisell Park, are communities of interest that do not reflect the community of interest within District 2 or 5, but it would be a disservice to pawn that region to these communities. We will lose more than we will gain. As someone on the call mentioned, a lot of work has been championed through the organizing efforts in Boyd District 2, but those wins also have benefited District 5 as well. We need to continue to organize our communities, but we also need fair representation. The revised MAP 2 is moving towards a direction of ensuring of what Eastside voices have been uplifting to remain in a district that is representative of them, to ensure that we are able to continue to advance for equitable change, and it will also elevate representation for students in District 5. That is why I am in support of MAP 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Sofia Ponce. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name Sofia Ponce.
Hello.
Yes, can you please state the items you'd like to speak on?
Item 2, please.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Sofia Ponce. I live in East LA. I am calling to be in solidarity with the Southeast community. South community lacks resources that other communities are given. I do not support MAP 2. We ask that you find a middle ground that will elevate and uplift the voices of the Southeast community. I support MAP 1A and 1B. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Caller by the name Empowerment Congress Central, can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, Damon Johnson speaking for item number 2 in public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Damon Johnson. I am the president of the Empowerment Congress Central Area Neighborhood Council in South Los Angeles. And I am speaking for map number 2. Map number 2 brings our educational equality and keeps our districts where they should be. It provides an opportunity for us to go into a level playing field in our education system. So keeping map number 2 and ensuring that map number 2 is what our commissioners decide on is going to be the best thing and the only map that keeps our districts together and our populations together and provides the equity that's needed. Life may not be fair, but it should always be equal. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller with the last 3 digits, 717. Can you please unmute yourself? Please press *6 to unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Tracy Cook. Can you hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
All items available, please.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
So thank you, commissioners, for once again doing the public service, putting all your efforts in this situation. So I am just stunned that we today in October of 2021 have a map offered to the public that looks like map 2. It is wild to me that people are calling in for map 2, and when they do it, they're looking the other way at the fact that it's gerrymandered. I didn't think we did that in 2021. I was stunned that we are doing it in our city council maps, but we'll save that conversation for another Zoom. But this is what we're offering people. It's like we're throwing crumbs at people saying, here, we're giving you this and we're giving you that. So don't pay attention to the gerrymandered section. No, this is embarrassing. How did the commission get here? Why is this here? Now, I have looked at maps 1A and map 1B, and there's issues in all those maps as well. What are we doing? And then we're going to tell everybody we're out of time. Oh, we can't do anything because we're out of time. Well, let's talk about being out of time. I was in conversation with Sandra Guzman last week, and I saw her, who's not paid by anybody, and she said, but she likes numbers and she likes data crunching. She actually has skills in this world. And she said, well, let me see what I can do. And frankly, she did more than any of this board did, than any of this commission did. And so she offered up a map, and I listened to her presentation to you guys, and you guys all asked questions, and she went deep with you. And she heard you, and then she presented a new map on the 19th. Now, I'm not going to tell you that that map is necessarily perfect, but I will tell you it shows more effort than whatever happened with this commission to allow map 2 to be here. It's really sad. And I'm going to tell you, as somebody who is a descendant of Eldridge Jerry, and I am, and it's embarrassing, the patriot that signed the Declaration of Independence and, oh yes, also created gerrymandering. I have my eye on this issue. It's kind of a smudge in our family tree, but you need to not do this. This is just stupid. So I'm asking you to please take a look at Sandra Guzman, and please, and I'm not even saying that that map is perfect, but you need to do something better than what you're offering here.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Robert Montalvo. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, good afternoon. I'd like to speak on all available items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Robert Montalvo. I am a resident in the city of Southgate, which is District 5, which is represented by Jackie Goldberg, and her appointee is Gil Hurtado, who is a mouthpiece for her and a staunch supporter of her. The optics of this commission, just looking at some of you that are on there, your ties to Jackie Goldberg are pretty embarrassing, and I think it kind of taints what you're doing here. I mean, how were you guys vetted? I mean, you guys have basically a cheerleader in Gil Hurtado, who I might add also admitted to possessing and publicly distributing photos of a young 5-year-old girl. How does this commission have any credibility with people on it like that? The optics are terrible. Also, everybody's talking about equality, this and that. That's fine. I'm glad this is working for your cities and your area. Let me tell you about Southgate. Recently, at the last city council meeting, our Southgate High School cheerleaders had to go to the city council to ask for money because LAUSD cannot provide for them. We have a youth football team down here that has to go to Orange County to play because LAUSD cannot provide for them. The map you have is political, despite what the fantasy that people have or want to believe that it's not political, it is. Compare it to the voting data that was submitted by the LA Clerk's Office. And you'll see all of Jackie Goldberg's support is up north in Atwater, in Eagle Rock, in those areas. The text, and you guys are trying to do a facade right now and act like you're doing something. You guys made a decision in late September already. This is all semantics what you're doing right now. You guys already have your mind made up. And it's a travesty to my city of Southgate that is getting the bad end of the stick. Jackie Goldberg has only visited us when she was campaigning. Other than that, you'll find her in Eagle Rock or those more affluent areas. How does anybody talk about Black and brown communities and how important it is without even looking at the city I live in? The city where almost half our high school students don't graduate. A city where our classroom capacities are like 46 to 48 student per teacher ratio. How do you guys overlook that? You guys are talking about sacrificing some for.
Thank you very much for your comment. Your time is up. Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name LG K40. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name LG K40. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Okay, next caller by the name Cynthia Gonzalez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, what items would you like to speak on?
Number 2 on public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to honor the voices of so many folks who are in organizations supporting the East Side. I was a former principal at Roosevelt High School and worked at Bravo Medical Magnet. I'm from the Southeast. I'm currently a high school principal in South Central. I have daughters that attend schools in the Southeast. So I'm very connected and passionate about all of these issues. I think when we talk about equity and marginalization, let's look at who is speaking now, because it's the voices that are missing that have been the least represented with our previous configuration and map. The Southeast communities have been disenfranchised for over a decade, and we seek to have the level of organization, community support that the East Side has garnered over the last 10 years. I think it's really sad that there's like this zero-sum game with our Latino communities. In Los Angeles, when we represent the largest population of students in LA Unified, that we're trying to kind of battle each other for representation really on the school board. I understand the concerns of East Side families with having to battle financially with folks with a lot more financial power in the Northeast, but the Southeast map does not represent equity in any way. If you look at the map, connecting the Southeast to the Northeast through some small leveraged communities and streets is not equity. The communities in the Southeast have been disenfranchised. You can see it by who has been speaking. You can see it by who is organized. You can see it by the fact that so many of our families in the Southeast don't even know what is happening to them. They are not organized in the least bit. I asked the commission to look at the real issues of equity, who is disenfranchised now, who has been disenfranchised, and to find a way for our Southeast and East Side communities to organize, galvanize, come together, and make sure we have adequate representation. I support MAP 1B. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Jennifer Goldstein. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, thank you. My name is Jennifer Goldstein, and I would like to speak on all available public items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I sit on the Encino Neighborhood Council as the education representative. We are split between districts 3, 4, and 6 for the past decade, a problem we were hoping to resolve. I am a graduate of LAUSD. I'm a parent of 3 children in 3 different LAUSD schools. I'm a professor of education at Cal State, and I focus on equity leadership. I have a deep respect for the anti-racist goals expressed by many of the speakers today, whether that term is being used or not. We are, many of the speakers, I believe, talking about changing the historic patterns of our institutions. I want to speak on behalf of MAP 3, the ruse map, which I just learned of today. So that support is tentative. As a prior speaker said, it may not be perfect. That I cannot claim to have studied it deeply, but neither MAPs 1A or 2 meet the goals of our neighborhood council as submitted in our community impact statement, which was simply to keep the feeder pattern of our schools together rather than having it split across 3 different districts. If school feeder patterns is not a community of interest for the school district redistricting purposes, I don't know what is. MAP 3, by contrast, maintains boundaries that make sense in terms of the feeder patterns, natural boundaries in neighborhoods, and the CVAP priorities expressed by this commission. So I urge the Redistricting Commission to post MAP 3 as an option and allow public study and comment. If it were found not to meet the anti-racist goals that I trust that this Redistricting Commission has, I would withdraw my support. But at this time, it hasn't been broadly considered. And I do believe, as many speakers tonight have said, there must be a third way, one that empowers historically underserved communities across Los Angeles while maintaining the basic principle of feeder patterns for all our children. Thank you very much. I cede the remainder of my time.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Gary Fordyce. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
Gary Fordyce, all items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Yes. I am a 74-year resident of the San Fernando Valley, a graduate of LAUSD. Extending into a 45-year residence of Board District 3 and North Hills West. I support MAP 1B with adjustments in behalf of Board District 3, as I will explain. Racial gerrymandering is a violation of constitutional rights. This commission has already ruled supporting a decades-old racial gerrymandering within Board District 6. The claiming that historical inclusion in claiming Gledhill Street Elementary, Albert Einstein High School, and James Monroe High School as an intrusion into Board District 3 communities, demanding additional review, claiming historical inclusion is an admission of historic racial gerrymandering, and again demands further review tonight. This cannot continue for another 10 years. The United States Constitution, Article 3, Article 1 and the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause, as affirmed by the United States Supreme Court, states that racial gerrymandering is a violation of constitutional rights. A common tactic of racial gerrymandering is packing, wherein a concentration of voting rights from one district is used to eliminate the voting power of another. Significant cases have been Shaw versus Reno, 1993, and Miller versus Johnson, 1995. Both are rulings regarding the Equal Protections Act and the illegality of this type of gerrymandering. Historically entrenched racial gerrymandering violates the core rights of voters who choose their representatives involving schools nearest their residence. End racial gerrymandering, end packing, restore constitutional rights and equity to North Hills West and Board District 3. Thank you very much. This must be reviewed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Belen Flores. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name. Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
I would like to offer public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. So, hi, commissioners. My name is Belen Flores, and I am a member of Community Coalition. I work in South Los Angeles on 81st and Vermont, and I organize with parents in the district for LAUSD. And I urge you to protect districts 1, 2, and 7 as presented in map 2. Map 2 is the most equitable map for District 1 and South LA communities. We have led the fight for educational equity for more than 10 years in District 1. And only recently have we begun to undo the unjust and discriminatory policies and practices in LAUSD. We must continue to fight against the historical neglect and disinvestment in our area schools, which has had a generational impact on our students and family. As well as map 2 does the best job of acknowledging the census undercount, displacement, and gentrification. And it also reflects people's lived experiences and the impact of COVID-19. And I see I'm running out of time, so thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Carla Fernandez. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, I'd like to give general comment and then comment on the maps, item number 2.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
So I am here to talk as myself on behalf of SELA. I'm not in favor of a map that keeps the Southeast region gerrymandered. And I think I want to echo what some of the other commentators said about how at the beginning of this process, the commissioner stated that the current map for the board district presented an injustice for the Southeast. And I think the fact that we're still here looking at map 2 is alarming. And I want to echo that. I really want to encourage you to think about how we got here. The current board district map in proposed map 2 does not support the needs of the Southeast region. People in the Southeast region are working class people. They're Latinos, they're renters, they're low income. Many are undocumented, and we are largely youth. So I really urge this commission not to punish Stella children and families because their communities do not have the infrastructure of nonprofits, of educational and political advocacy, and the mobilization of political power that other communities, especially in LA City proper, have. We do not have city councils, we do not have neighborhood councils the way you do, and we just simply do not have the same power as other communities in LAUSD. And I think the narrative I keep hearing about keeping a map that is like the status quo really just shows that people are thinking that the Stella region is expendable, and it's unacceptable to keep it gerrymandered and to justify this as an effort that would protect overall equity. You all know that gerrymandering of Stella weakens the votes of residents in the region, and it hurts kids. And I really push you to honor the need for equity for Stella residents. And you know that school board races are some of the most expensive in the country. So I urge you to really consider the long-term impacts of gerrymandering on Stella. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Marisol. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, I would like to speak on all items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Marisol Rosales, and I am a member of Community Coalition. I live in South LA. My children attend San Miguel Middle School and Cape Pueblo Unido. And I've lived in the community for all my life. I just went to college and I came right back to the community. And I urge you to protect District 1, 2, and 7 as presented in Map 2. Map 2 is the most equitable map for District 1 and South LA communities. We have led the fight for equal equity for more than educational equity for more than 10 years in District 1, and only recently have we begun to undo the unjust and discriminatory policies and practices in LAUSD. We must continue to fight against the historical neglect and disinvestments in our area schools, which have a generational impact on our students and family. Map 2 also does the best job of acknowledging the census undercount, displacement, and gentrification. It also reflects people's lived experiences and the impact of COVID-19 on our communities. Lastly, Map 2 honors the tireless work of students and families in South LA and East LA as we work to center equity in the LAUSD. The boundary shown in Map 2 will protect the voices of historically disinvested communities. Breaking these districts apart will only divide up our voices and our ability to elect representatives that reflect the shared interests of our communities and representatives who center equity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Sarah Ruth. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hi, I would like to speak on all items, please.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. You heard from me last time. I have been listening to this long list of people talking about equity and keeping communities together and fairness, and also sort of puzzlement about the maps 1A, 1B, and 2. And I would like to say I'm puzzled too as to why the public has not had better access to these other alternatives. There's all this cry and hue and cry for a middle ground, a better way, a compromise, and I have presented that to you. It's a little surreal to hear the people talking about equity and then advocating for a map, which is the poster child of gerrymandering. It is not equal, it is not equitable, it is not fair for Southeast LA, for Northeast LA, or even East LA. But the map that I provided you, based on Karina Macias's sketch, actually is equitable, it is even, it is fair, it keeps communities together, it does the right thing by everyone, everywhere. It empowers and holds communities together, it gives them a voice, it does not divide people, which is really what's going on here. Hostile forces are trying to divide and conquer, and it is unpleasant and inappropriate. The map I suggested also, interestingly, holds together and empowers and gives a voice to the Asian community, which is not represented here at all. Speaking of sort of being behind the curve in terms of organization. There are sections and factions of the Latino community that are, organized differently and at different sort of levels on this ladder. And then there are many other communities that are just not heard from at all. So I've given you options, and I really would like to ask, why on earth did this commission not elevate the options that are available into the same space? So speaking of dividing and conquering, one person after another hasn't even seen the suggestions that are equitable, are best for all communities. They're out there, they're on a different page, they're not being advertised or sent around or shared or shown. It's unfair to the community, all of the communities who need you guys to create contiguous boundaries of shared communities of interest in order to elevate the voices of the people who are with one another and living in the community. That's what this is about. And you can do it. You have good compromise maps. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Michelle Gallagher. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hopefully you can hear me. Michelle Gallagher speaking on all items. Thank you for coming back to me.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, hi, my name is Michelle Gallagher. I am a parent in Reseda of a child going to Bertrand Elementary. And I'm also on the parliamentarian of the Reseda Neighborhood Council, but tonight I am speaking as myself. So the points I wanted to make were, I just wanted to kind of put a pin on some points that have already been made. First of all, please keep Reseda together. And I'm gonna cut to the chase here and say that but behind the scenes, my suspicion is that the splitting of Reseda suggestion is all about one particular school, Shirley Elementary. I'm not going to get into the merits of that, of like all the the weeds of why that might be going down. Don't do it. Please keep Reseda whole and in District 3. I want to mention that Map 3, as several callers have pointed out, in fact does that. And I would definitely urge you to take another look at Map 3, which looks particularly good for the Valley. I'm not really familiar with some of the issues in the rest of the city, but it does look particularly good for the Valley in terms of keeping districts whole. And then I want to put a kind of highlight on one issue that has come up. So I'm not sure if you all know this, but Reseda and a couple of other places, a bunch of other places, are being put in a new, potentially being put in a new council district for the city council, and no one in that new district will have voted in the previous election. So zero representative continuity. If you don't keep Reseda whole and in CD3, not only will the residents of Reseda lose representative continuity at the city council level, but they will also lose it in the schools for that part that is being switched over from District 3 in the LAUSD redistricting. So I don't think that is fair on a fundamental level. It almost it goes to depriving people of their basic rights that have a vote. Jackie, my love, one moment. And the reason it does that is because the vast amount of people who are affected by this and would be disenfranchised. So I urge you to take another look at Map 3, keep Reseda together, and just please take another look at these maps. I know it's last minute. I know it's the last hour, but it doesn't have to be. We can get this work done. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Alberta Moore. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hello, this is Alberta Brinson Moore. I am speaking on number 2.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Hello, I'm Alberta Britson Moore. I'm from District 2. I grew up in District 7. I am a proud third generation family in LAUSD. I have some serious concerns regarding equity in regards to Black students in the district. I'm excited about programs that have been initiated to address this inequity in terms of the Black Student Achievement Plan. I am voicing support for plan number 2 because of the boundaries it draws for district number 1 and district 7. I think it gives greater equity to the people in those districts in regards to representation. I thank the commission for its work in this matter.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Thank you very much for your comments. Next caller by the name Joy Stallworth. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller by the name Joy Stallworth. Can you please?
Okay, I'm here. And I want to speak. I want to speak to all the items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Joy Stallworth. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I went to school in LAUSD, and I have children currently in LAUSD. I'm a member of Community Coalition, and I'm here to support. I'm here in support of MAP 2, which promotes equitable education for districts 1, 2, and 7. We are fighting, have led the fight, and are just now beginning to undo unjust discriminatory policies and practices running rampant in LAUSD. We are fighting against historical neglect and divestment in our schools. Our communities have been undercut, displaced, and gentrified. But MAP 2 honors the tireless work of students and families in South LA and East LA areas that were heavily impacted by COVID. MAP 2 protects the voices of historically divested communities, and to break us apart would be a major attempt at destroying us and destroying what we're fighting for. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Lester Garcia. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'd like to speak on all items.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Lester Garcia. I am a resident of Board District 5, a father of 3, and Government Relations Director with SEIU Local 99, and also a former LAUSD redistricting commissioner from 10 years ago. I appreciate all of the commissioners and the time they've dedicated to this process, the platforms that they've provided for community input. I can't imagine how difficult it is to hear from so many voices from such a diverse set of cities. I did want to say, as you heard from my colleagues earlier today, that that SEIU is in support of draft map 2. And I will say that I think there's some cleanup that can be done to strengthen the Latino CVAC in District 5 and still be in a good place with District 2. I think having positive districts and having our existing map or a version of draft map 2 are not mutually exclusive. I want to address a couple things really quickly that have been brought up both by folks that have called in as well as commissioners in previous meetings. And that is the constant use of the term gerrymandering. I think what a lot of folks don't understand is that gerrymandering is when you give an advantage to folks that shouldn't have it. When we look at majority minority communities like we have in the Southeast in Board District 5, like we have in Board District 2, that is not gerrymandering. I think gerrymandering is a term that's thrown out there that really depends on the person's perspective. I think one would argue that in the same way that Board District 5 is today in a dumbbell shape, that maps 1A and 1B put District 2 in a dumbbell shape. It's a matter of perspective. At the end of the day, what matters the most is that you have the data and the numbers that respect the populations and their ability to elect their representatives. The last thing I want to say is I've heard both commissioners as well as some folks in the public, but really troubling it that it's coming from commissioners calling the current map that we have illegal. I want to remind folks that the current map that we have was actually drawn by the city of LA and was not the recommended map from the commission 10 years ago. It was signed off by the city attorney, and not a single city. There are over 25 cities that make up LAUSD. Not a single city has challenged or been a part of any sort of litigation against the current maps as it exists today. To be putting out the idea and throwing out terms like gerrymandering and illegal just because there's a map in there that you don't like is, I think, irresponsible on behalf of commissioners. So again, I'd like to express my support for map 2, and hopefully the commission can focus its time and energy on.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Patricia Bates. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Good afternoon. I would like to speak on item 2.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm Patricia Bates. I'm the president of the Encino Neighborhood Council. I want to commend my colleagues, Glenn Bailey and Jennifer Goldstein, for their excellent comments. I have the education committee passed a motion to support the original map 2, and then we see the revised map 2, and once again, Encino and some other valley communities have been combined with a district that goes past LAX. I don't understand that. It's really unacceptable. And I really hope that you revise that. I will take time to review map 3 that I have heard referred to. And I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service, but please fix this. There's a history with the valley.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Eva Garcia. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Eva García y yo quisiera pedirles de favor que nos mantengan unidos al ser en el Boyle Heights. Yo vivo aquí en Boyle Heights por mucho tiempo y tenemos una conexión de comunidad en lucha y tenemos las mismas necesidades como comunidad y queremos, bueno, mi punto de pensar es luchar juntos para poder sacar a nuestras comunidades de que al final de cuentas somos unas comunidades que somos olvidadas y somos también las comunidades que luchamos día con día para poder sobresalir. Y pues como comunidad de aquí de Boyle Heights, les pido el favor que por favor consideren esto de no separarnos. Gracias.
Muchas gracias por su comentario.
Can we translate?
Yeah, jumping
Yes,
on
sir, go.
it. Hi, I just wanted to say to please keep us united in Boyle Heights. I have lived for Boyle Heights in a long time, and we have a big sense of community. We fight together to move our community forward, but we're a community that is often forgotten. We fight every day to keep moving forward, and so I just want to ask that you consider this to not separate the community of Boyle Heights. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller with the last 3 digits, 631. Please use *6 to unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Giovanna Lavorin. I am a past student of District 5 and now a current parent of children in District 5. I would like to say that our schools have been unhappy for 10 years, ever since the map was set up 10 years ago. That being said, the map that best helps the Southeast area is any version of map 1A or 1B. Please support change. Map 2 keeps us
with 10 more years of bad representation. Any version of map 1 is what we need. Also, I just wanted to add one last thing. As listening to this meeting, I was very embarrassed and upset to hear an attack against one very important person in our district that represents our district, Mr. Gil Hurtado. I feel like I need to apologize to him here because Mr. RJ Montalvo, that was a speaker earlier, used this forum for another attack against this great man that has represented our community, has helped our youth, our schools.
Thank you very much for your comment. Your time is up. Next caller by the name Marilyn Sanabria. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Good evening. Items 2 and general comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for your time and consideration of thoughts. My name is Marilyn Sanabria. I am a product of LAUSD. I am a guardian of a minor child in LAUSD, as well as a council member in the city of Huntington Park. The fact is that map 2 does not keep what's in the best interest for the SELA and the city of Huntington Park or the children of the community. It's unfortunate. The best way for our community to move forward is to have representation that is from our community, from SELA, for them to be able to fight for our community, for our children, and not by keeping us in with the northeast, we're gonna lose our voice. SELA will not be able to vote or elect someone that is truly a representative of their community. We have heard many people say how this is their franchise and so forth. The fact is that by keeping the map 2 as it is, the voters in this community will not be able to have a representation and resources. You know, we will not be able to secure the resources or any of that to our communities. With that, thank you so much. And I hope you would consider a middle ground where the communities, like communities, are kept together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller by the name Karina Macias. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. What items would you like to speak on?
Item 2 in general comment.
Okay, you have all items?
Yes, all items.
3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners, or good evening at this time. My name is Karina Macias, a Huntington Park Council member, but today I'm also wearing my hat as a caregiver and member of SEIU 2015 and give voice today to the thousands of caregivers and members of SEIU 2015 in Southeast LA cities that have kids in the schools in the regional community. Thank you again for your time and the time you're providing to this important decision. I want to especially thank Commissioner Gil Hurtado for his tireless work in this commission. This decision is not an easy one, but it's definitely a decision that will impact communities greatly. We have reached a crossroads where the next decision made, specifically for District 5, can either leave us gerrymandered for another decade or provide a middle ground and give the Southeast cities a chance, a real chance, for families and students to thrive and be truly represented. There is no equity, no matter how it's presented or drawn, none, if District 5 is left the same. Map 2 under District 5 leaves us the same. In this process, there's no desire from us to disadvantage any other community, especially when there's room for a middle ground. And middle ground doesn't mean both communities will be happy. It means that both communities can work it out. It doesn't leave one community hungry for the basics as it has been for 10 years in the Southeast. When you have council members in the Southeast fighting the district for basics, it's a big problem. In the last meeting, a map 1A with changes was provided at the beginning of a conversation to find a middle ground. In the same meeting, there was additional changes to map 1A made by the chair. I'm looking forward to hearing any additional ideas today using map 1A that can reach that middle ground to give District 5 that chance. As a council member, I represent over 60,000 residents in Huntington Park, many that cannot be here today because the digital divide is real, as we have seen with kids in the area during COVID pandemic. Because a parent has 2 jobs that keeps them busy. Because a single parent is trying to balance life, work, and family. But today and other days, I speak for them and their children that attend one of our 32 schools in Huntington Park, or schools in the region. It has been said that if you can that you can promulgate injustice without consequences. Promulgating map 2 as an equitable map is a false idea and a dangerous one, because the reality is that it's being pushed for political reasons. Let's not close our eyes to that truth. On the other hand, what is tough and should be happening is promulgating communication and true understanding that leads to a middle ground. That is true justice for the community in the Southeast and other communities in the surrounding area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next caller with the name LGK40. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Caller with the name LGK40. Can you please unmute yourself and state the items you'd like to speak on? Okay, Chair, we've called on this speaker several times and they are not unmuting. We don't have any other callers. Would you like to close public comment?
Yes, let's close public comment. Thank everyone who showed up today to express their support for different maps. I want to now move to item notice for public hearing. First item number 1, we have approval of minutes for the following meetings: October 4th, 2021 public input hearing, October 6th, 2021 public input hearing, October 9th public hearing input hearing of 2021, and October 13th, 2021 regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'd move approval. This is Wendy.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second, this is Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, can we get a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner DeHaan?
Mr. Chair, before that, I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm with the executive director that the transcript that we received today and all of the other transcripts have those been certified by our reporter?
Yes.
Or the transcriber?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's begin with the roll call.
Sure. Once again, Commissioner DeHaan?
Yes.
Commissioner Franco?
Yes.
Commissioner Gruel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurtado? Yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez Ledesma?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundquist? Looks like we might have lost her for a minute.
Oh, no, she's on. She's on. She put her thumb up. So.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
my internet is slow. My apologies.
That's okay. Thank you. Commissioner Rapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Antonio Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Waite?
Yes.
Vice Chair Ambris?
Yes.
And Commissioner Sanchez, or Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move to item 2, commission discussion and possible action, commissioners amended draft maps, public input, and commissioner's final map recommendation. So as you all know, at the last meeting, we deliberated on moving some amendments forward, and we ran out of time, right? The meeting, I think we called the meeting around 7:30ish. I want to continue. I had a amendment to map 2 that we didn't get to. In request to what board members had said, I sent it out today. Then to include some of those amendments that was sent out. And I believe there's another Commissioner Franco, that also has some for 1A. So I would like to begin with map 2. If you could put it in front, Andrew. That way we don't spend time drawing it in the same way and kind of struggling through that. So that folks.
Chair, sorry, I have a question. Is it possible for us to do 1A first, any revisions, since we, just to kind of finish off last week's conversation before we move into map 2?
I'll begin with map 2 because that was where I dropped that last time and it said it was going to begin at this meeting. So To begin, my revisions come with the, there's been a lot of confirmation, conversation around compromise. How do we make changes to the map? I've heard a lot around how do we put place like Florence Firestone in map 5, District 5. How do we kind of ensure that the Northeast doesn't have outside burden in communities like District 2 and District 5 in both map 1A and map 2. That's why I made some changes last time to map 1A to meet those needs. In this map the changes I'm proposing, essentially there's a couple things, right? One, it actually adds Mount Washington and Highland Park to District 2. In the previous iteration of this map, it was actually in District 5. It adds the Florence Firestone area to the Southeast area, connected to that region in District 5. And then it connects it into regions of the Central Corridor, right? Going a little bit into downtown. Those are essentially some of the major changes. And to make that happen, we did some cleanup in 7, and then with the goal of not really impacting 1, right? And so, if you look at here, the deviations all match up. The population numbers all fit within the needs to both expand 2 and 5 by at least 70,000 residents collectively. But at the same time, ensuring that District 5, asking for both the Florence Firestone area and what I heard also to ensure that the Northeast area wasn't fully in only District 5, right? And so kind of adding some of those regions to District 2 to ensure that, both regions like the Southeast that now are connected to the Florence Firestone region, as well as the Central Corridor, have more ability to elect a candidate of choice, right? And because of that, District 2 has taken on some of those areas to create that balance, both in population and deviation, and to still also keep communities whole. So this is my motion, so I'm putting together the motion, so I'm not sure if I have a second.
I can second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dahan. So I'm not sure if there's any questions before we move on this vote about this map.
Yes.
Yes,
I had my hand raised. I didn't know how you were gonna do this.
yes, go ahead.
I
So
guess,
it's now discussion and questions, before we do a vote.
okay, yeah. In terms of clarification, you spoke about the maps that we're gonna be discussing today. There's been a number of maps that have been, and I apologize, I did miss the end of the last meeting. And so and even though you and I talked in terms of what's here, I guess I'm concerned about voting on any motion until it's clear whether we're gonna have an opportunity to review all of the maps, including the map that's been talked about tonight. It's the roofs map. And I think there's been some confusion. Some people have been calling it map 3, when I think they were referring to the roofs map. And I know that Commissioner, there's been another map that was submitted today. So I want to know, at least I would like to know, whether all of the maps that have been submitted are going to be reviewed today, or is it just the 2 that were on the table at the last meeting?
Yeah, so there's 3 maps still in front of us, 1A with some revisions that were done last time, still 1B still exists, as well as this 2 map. I'm asking for revisions of this map. We're not voting on moving any map forward in this process right now. Then we're going to go back to map 1A. There's potential revisions to that map in front of us as well. And then we'll go accordingly. Just to clarify on any map, the maps have to be approved by this commission as draft maps. People could turn them in, but we still have to approve them for consideration before they even, so that could be a separate motion. So just Commissioner Johnson, but right now, given we have a second now, like just other questions related to any of these changes.
Okay, I guess I really didn't answer my question. Would you say that there should be a motion regarding considering other maps? Shouldn't that happen before we start the map by map process? I guess that's my question. If we're going to be considering other maps, I would like to know all the maps that we're going to consider so that when I look at whatever the motion is and how I vote, I will know that somewhere down the line, there are 2 or 3 other maps that I might need to consider.
Yes, I understand, but these are revisions to current maps, we're not adding new maps. These are revisions to current maps that the commission has already.
Okay. When is the
agreed to look
opportunity to add new maps? And maybe I'm not asking the question the right way. When is the opportunity to add new maps? If you said.
I mean, we could do that after this next motion. I mean, after 1A. So,
okay, great.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm. So, sorry, I got a bunch of hands up. Can you please people let me, who's next? I had it on attendee. So I have here, it's Commissioner Dahan, and then wait, I'm just gonna go off the list here, I'm sorry. Is that fine? Okay.
Sure, thank you. This was before the amendment, so I just wanted to make a comment and just acknowledge all of the students that we've heard speak in this process. I just think that was really powerful, and I know that it's very courageous to speak. So I just wanted to acknowledge throughout this process, a lot of students have engaged, and I just wanted to acknowledge their engagement. And I did have a separate motion I wanted to make, but I'll let us do 2, and then I'd like to make my motion later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have Commissioner Waite.
So at the last meeting, we came within a hair's breadth of just eliminating map 2 altogether. And now we have a new version of it that I think is even worse. It's almost a donut wrapping entirely around another district, miles and miles around. That is just outlandish. And if we're going to recognize people for their bravery, I would recommend that we recognize all the people from District 5 who have stood up and asked that we discontinue the pain that's already been done to them. And boy, this sure doesn't do it. I am really shocked at this map.
Thank you, Commissioner Waite. Vice Chair Ambriz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a related comment and then also a clarifying question on the motion. First, I too want to appreciate and acknowledge not only your work on this to come up with some opportunities for us to consider new alternatives, but also all of the requests and kind of the calls to action that we've been given through the public comment that we received. I think generally, I, as well as others, are committed to finding kind of that middle ground that I did hear people say, and trying to make sure that we do keep not only an opportunity for communities to feel whole, but then also to reflect their communities fully. And I think that there are different steps that we're taking. So I appreciate your kind of willingness to discuss a couple of different maps. That being said, on this particular map, Mr. Chair, I was just wondering if you happen to have, or perhaps Andrew can show some of the statistics that are related to this map. And I know we've been talking, thank you, Andrew. I know we've been talking a lot around kind of differences between map 1A, map 1A revised, map 1B, map 2, and then also a couple of different proposals. So I was hoping that Andrew or you, Mr. Chair, could walk us through what the numbers would look like in comparison to a couple of others. I don't know if there is a chart available that can show that, but I'm particularly interested in the Latino CVAP numbers from districts 5 and 2 and how they would shift from the current base map to this proposed option.
Sure. Andrew, can you walk us through that number?
Let me unmute myself. There we go.
Yeah.
So just
and I would suggest you would say all the numbers, not just one of the numbers.
Yeah, and it's going to take me a minute to do all of this. And I don't know,
Can we come back to you, Andrew? Is that fine? As we kind of go through the speakers? Okay, good. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah. So Commissioner Hurtado?
So first of all, I apologize for Southgate politics entering this conversation. It's pretty sad. And
Commissioner Hurtado, it's kind of hard to hear you. Your
Is
sound
this
is
better?
kind of,
Is this better? Hello, hello? Is that better?
that's better. You have to get close to the
God,
computer, I guess.
out of my ears here. Let me lower it here. So first of all, I want to apologize that Southgate Politics has entered this, project that we have. It's very important. That being said, this map, I agree with Commissioner Waite, is really just, a slice away from what the other map is, map 2. And allowing this map to go forward is like we weren't doing anything, that I came here for absolutely nothing. I came in here for a change. This does not, the people that are happy, I want them to continue to be happy. I really do. And I think we can, if we really work at this, we can come up with a map that all 7 districts feel that maybe I didn't get everything I wanted. What was the thing that one gentleman said? It may not be fair, but must be equal. And right now it's not equal. I took notes of what people were saying. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the people in District 2. I get it. They wanted something, they have it. But if they were to move their residents to District 5, they would be doing what I'm doing, which is calling for a change. And this is not it. Group, commissioners, this is not it. Map 2 just does not help us at all. I make this comment, I'm going to repeat it. When I first started, I had not spoken to other leaders of the Southeast area. In fact, I had a conversation with you, Mr. Chair, and you had asked me, have you reached out to anybody? I said, no, I haven't. And the reason I didn't is because I really felt that I wanted to put my heart into doing the right thing, which is trying to move away from what was done 10 years ago. And I already knew how they felt. So when I started speaking in favor of a change, which map 1 did, and map 2 did not, I did have a concern. What if people from HP, what if people from the Southeast area start calling in and saying, hey, Gil Hurtado doesn't represent us. He's way off base. We want map 2. I had no idea how they were going to respond. Remember that, Mr. Chair, you and I had that conversation. You encouraged me to talk to them. Well, I didn't. I still didn't, because I already knew how they felt. Not because I have a crystal ball, but because I knew the challenges that we were facing for 10 years. And now that I hear them speak, you have no idea how much relief there is that they're really on the same page that I am. And this does not it. And I appreciate your effort, Mr. Chair. I really think that you really tried to put something together here that maybe will help us. But from where I sit, it just does not. And I'll you have a motion in a second. I've thrown this in, and I have some other questions later on, but I'll reserve them for after we take a vote. But I'm going to ask everybody to consider, this does not do it. Just a slight change to what we already have on that too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurtado. Commissioner Rapeni and then Commissioner Hernandez.
Sure. I just wanted to ask a couple questions. So I think, so one of the changes here that relates to keeping high school attendance boundary, high school feeder area, sorry, together is this is now Hollywood, part of Hollywood is now moved into out of 4 actually, and into what this proposal is 5. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to mention that because I think that part of Hollywood is, from my knowledge, a pretty mixed area. Is not, is not similar to Los Feliz, but is pretty mixed, is a pretty dense, a lot of rental. And so I just wanted to ask about that. my thoughts are that, I appreciate the changes that you're suggesting here, as I appreciated the suggestions that you made at the last meeting to 1A, because in my mind, and what I've been advocating for, is for us to try to find a middle ground, and for us to put real ideas on the table about how to move the ball to a compromise. And I think I want to speak to a couple of things that have been said. One was during public comment, and this was just one person. It's not a big deal, but someone said something about, oh, at the end of the day, this is going to be done in a back room. And I just want to say, I've really appreciated my experience on this commission, because we're doing all of this in public, and it's been a very respectful, very thoughtful dialogue with a bunch of really dedicated commissioners. This has not been, about backroom deals. This has been about continuing to push. We don't have huge issues. We have, one in the Valley, and we have one that has been the biggest issue, which is the one we're talking about tonight. And we're continuing to talk about it and focus on it and put solutions on the table. I don't think that moving Highland Park and Mount Washington are small changes. I know the Northeast pretty well. I used to live in actually Eagle Rock and Glassell Park for a time. And these are actually pretty big parts of the community. I think there are actually quite a lot of voters, especially in the Mount Washington area. And I also, see that I think this is taking into account some of the suggestions that have been made about Florence Firestone, although I see not the entire area has been moved, but part of the area has been moved. So to me, this represents that, a way to try to move the ball. And I appreciate that. And I think that that's what we need to do here. I don't agree with, I know that Commissioner Waite kind of just said that this is just completely bad. I think that there's been a lot of organizing from two positions, and two very impassioned and, in my mind, compelling positions. And there has been a lot of organizing on behalf of the idea of not gutting District 2, which has been a district from which a certain policy, types of policy have been produced through work and organizing. And I definitely don't dismiss those arguments. And as I have not, and obviously felt very moved by the arguments coming from the Southeast. So I think the idea of looking at how to do that, is what we need to do here, rather than rejecting this just because of its shape. So I do appreciate these changes, and I will look forward to hearing from others as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penny. Commissioner Hernandez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too just wanted to thank all the speakers who called in today to participate in this democratic process, which is what it is, and for sharing your thoughts with the commission, who at the end of the day will take those thoughts, take the data that we're seeing, the maps, all items into consideration to move that forward to the City Council for their final decision. So thank you. And also for the young students who are getting involved. I think that's a really great indicator of our future. So thank you for that. And I too also want to echo the sentiments about looking at continued ways to look at the options before us, so that we continue to vet the different options for us to explore, because as we all know, and I also want to echo Commissioner Reppening's comments about working with each one of you here who are also looking to find the most comprehensive middle ground for that encompasses what we're hearing from our from public comments. I think we all have are looking to ensure that we have the best interests of the communities at hand, and ultimately that we are focusing on the communities and the students who are at the heart of all of this. So I just wanted to make sure to echo that and to let you know that we are listening to all of you and taking all those comments into consideration. With regard to this map, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make sure that we are sharing the numbers, and I know Vice Chair asked for that. But in addition to not only the population and the CVAP numbers, I'm wondering if there's also a possibility to make sure that we're also capturing, made aware of the voter registration numbers as well.
Great. Andrew, I'm not sure if you're ready to do some of those numbers, at least the ones that initially were asked by Vice Chair Ambriz. The second ones might be a little bit harder in real time, but let me know.
Yeah, so I'm just about ready. I'm just trying to get one more number here.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to do a comparison between, let me just do this real quick. I'm going to do a comparison between the current 1A, 1B, 2, and this amendment to map 2, right? So for District 2, the current map, and these are all CVAP numbers, the current map has a white CVAP of 14.1, has a black CVAP of 9.02, a Latino CVAP of 54.72, and an Asian CVAP of 20.78. District 2 under 1A revised has a white CVAP of 21.53, a black CVAP of 4.63, a Latino CVAP of 55.75, and an Asian CVAP of 16.72. Map 1B has a white CVAP of 27.58, a black CVAP of 4.47, a Latino CVAP of 51.73, and an Asian CVAP of 14.94. Map 2 revised has a white CVAP of 12.74, a black CVAP of 9.44, and a Latino CVAP of 57.86, and an Asian CVAP of 18.48. The amendment before you has a white CVAP of 17.26, a black CVAP of 6.92, a Latino CVAP of 55.07, and an Asian CVAP of 19.37. And so that's all for District 2 once again. For District 5, under the current map, the white CVAP is 23.64, the black CVAP is 3.25, the Latino CVAP is 60.99, and the Asian CVAP is 11.13. Under map 1A revised, the white CVAP is 20.03, the black CVAP is 8.5, the Latino CVAP is 58.4, and the Asian CVAP is 11.83. Under map 1B, the white CVAP is in District 5 is 12.51, the black CVAP is 8.47, the Latino CVAP is 63.4, and the Asian CVAP is 13.81. Under map 2 revised, the white CVAP is 28, the black CVAP is 3.52, the Latino CVAP is 55.77, and the Asian CVAP is 11.54. And then under the amendment for District 5, the white CVAP is 23.97, the black CVAP is 5.78, the Latino CVAP is 59.81, and the Asian CVAP is 12.55.
Thank you, Andrew. That was really helpful, and really appreciate your very quick skills in order to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that. So I mean, I'd like to just call for a vote on these revisions. And remember, these are revisions to the map. You're not accepting the map as the map moving forward. These are just revisions to a map that we're going to consider for future discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I may, would like to circle back regarding my question in regards to
voter registration
numbers. Yes.
Yeah. Were you able to do voter registration, Andrew?
That could take some time. I don't have the full complement. I can give you.
Yeah.
I should be able to give you. If you give me a second, I think I have the Latino voter registration, but I don't have any of the rest.
Well, what I would suggest is we should probably have that for any future map in front of us, because we're not deliberating on the final map, but we should have that in front of us for any future decision making, because on all populations and overall. So Okay. Thank you. So can we take a vote? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Johnson
Yes,
and Vice Chair Brees afterwards.
okay, I want to be clear. Your motion is simply for the revisions to map 1A. That
Oh,
you-
map two, the one we're looking at, map 2.
Okay, wait, all right, so I am confused, to map 2.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so the map that was just shown was map 2
Yeah, with the revisions that in my motion.
that you set in your motion.
Yes.
So then the motion is just simply to vote on this map with the revisions to move forward for discussion along with the other maps.
Yes,
I
that
want
is
to be
true.
clear because, I don't want to vote no on something if it's just a way to move this map forward as a means of discussion. Because it seems as though every time we make a change on a map, we give it another name or another A or a B, and I think it's confusing for the public.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that that's what we're voting on, because I'm prepared to vote no otherwise. But if
Yeah, no, that is true, and it will now become the new map 2.
that will
It's not
become
an A, it's not a B, it's just a new map 2. Yes.
that we will be considered along with other maps as more motions are made to consider other maps.
That is true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Vice Chair Brees, and then Commissioner Franco, and then Lundquist, Commissioner Lundquist. So Vice Chair Brees.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I was quickly looking at the numbers, and the revised map would increase the Latino CVAP numbers for District 5, but it would decrease Latino CVAP numbers for District 2. And I'm aware that in particular parts of, let's just call it kind of like the center of the 2 and 5 discussion, and kind of scattered throughout, there are community members that may or may not be documented, in which case they may or may not be able or eligible to vote. And I know those numbers would be skewed. So I do echo Commissioner Hernandez's inquiry around that. That being said, I appreciate that it seems like District 2 is, I think, being as flexible as possible with trying to come up with maybe like some alternatives that in fact might change their numbers to drop about 2% of Latino CVAP numbers. Again, though, what I am cautious and what I am worried about is how those kind of voters will actually turn out. And my understanding to date is one of the major concerns with the Southeast, from the Southeast community, is that their voice seems to be disenfranchised largely from the Northeast community voters that may or may not turn out in higher numbers in future elections. So I was wondering, Mr. Chair, if in making these changes, is there an opportunity, and is it something that you're interested in doing, in potentially looking at maybe some alternatives within, if we were to pass this version here, some alternatives to kind of make adjustments, kind of fix a couple maybe lines, and maybe come up with kind of ways to both kind of secure numbers for District 2, also District 5, and ensure that kind of both communities are feeling whole. So this is a continued conversation.
Yeah, definitely, because I think that's going to be the next discussion, right? Once we kind of land on maps, right? Is, we're going to have to do that. I do want to answer one of your questions related to, I'm not going to focus on CVAP. I'm going to focus on the concern from the Southeast has been their inability to elect a candidate of choice, right? And partly they feel that the Northeast has always had the ability to beat them in elections, right? So here we are trying to figure out a way so that District 2 takes on some of those regions, so that the Southeast doesn't have to take on the full burden, right? That's one thing. And partly you mentioned the dip in CVAP. Partly I think it comes from a place of historically District 2 has always been able to elect the candidate of choice for almost the last 30 years, right? And so, so I think that's what's being taken into account. I do feel, is one thing I have said, is there is an undercount in all these regions, right? And so the populations are not going to be less, they're going to be higher, right? And so our communities historically 2, 5, 7, and 1 had the largest undercounts in the state, and so I know full well that the numbers will only go up amongst those populations. They will not go down in my purview. So I had Commissioner Lundquist, Commissioner Franco next.
And Mr. Chair, I do have those Latino registration numbers on some of the maps when you're ready.
Okay, cool. So let's go for these, and then let's share those right after these two speakers. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am, I think we're all seeing this play out in front of our eyes, the communities of District 2 and the communities of District 5 sort of pitted against each other. And I think that so many commissioners have expressed a desire for compromise solutions or solutions that work for everyone in all of District 2 and all of District 5. And I believe that's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to come up with a possible compromise. And I really appreciate your putting a revision forward as a suggested compromise. My concern is that representatives from the Southeast and our commission have not expressed any, have not agreed that it seems to be any better. And so it's not clear to me that it really is a successful compromise or how it is a compromise.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Lundquist. Commissioner Franco?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to first thank all the public. We really appreciate the engagement and all the feedback that you can provide. I think for us, right, I think we all are trying to seek a compromise. I see that, part of the revisions you made in the previous conversation to map 1A as that attempt as well, right? I think for the Southeast, from the conversations that I've had with, SELA leaders, this map 2 just really isn't the option that would really help those communities. So just wanted to share those thoughts. And then I wanted to also clarify with you, Chair. I know in your motion you're saying moving forward this as a revised map, which would then replace the current map 2. So if
yes, that is true. It's a revision to map 2. That is correct.
So it would remove the other one, right?
Yes.
It would just keep this one?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I'm clear on the motion.
Yeah, we're not going to do 2A, 2B. This is my revision.
Thank you.
To map 2. Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Hurtado and the Commissioner Dahan.
Yeah, I just want to clear something up, and I'm sure our colleague Commissioner Lundquist didn't really mean how it could have sounded to some people. I just want to make sure people know I'm not pitted against District 2. I want to work on trying to keep them happy, make them happy. But I'm trying to work in the direction where District 5 is also happy, and District 1, 2, all of them, all 7 districts. That should be our goal. But I just wanted to point that out. I know that Commissioner Lundquist did not insinuate, but because the language that was used, I'm not pitted against anybody. I'm trying to solve a problem that's existed for 10 years, but I'm not against District 2. I want them to be happy at the end.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
Okay, we have Commissioner Dahan.
It's okay. I think Commissioner Hurtado, I would have said what he said, so I think that's great. We're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Andrew, can we hear the numbers? And then we could do a call to the vote, so then we could go to Commissioner Franco's.
Sure. And just so that the commission knows, the registration data that we have is for Latinos and Asian subgroups. And I do not have the calculations for the Asian subgroups because it takes quite a long time to put that together. But in terms of the Latino registration, and once again, just sticking with 2 and 5, the current Latino registration in District 2 is 50.88. And the current registration in District 5 is 55.26. In 1A revised, the Latino registration in District 2 is 51.31, and in District 5, it's 52.67. Under map 2 revised, and I don't have the 1B numbers, I apologize, but under map 2 revised, it's 53.62, and in District 5, it's 50.42. And then under this particular amendment, the Latino registration in District 2 is 51.39, and in District 5 is 53.14.
Great, thank you. So
if I could just ask a clarifying question. So Andrew, for Executive Chair. So you're saying a current registration for D2, 50.88, D5 is 55.26, correct? Current?
Yes, so 50.88 is current in 2 and 55.26 is current in 5.
And 5. Okay, and then with this particular map here, map 2 revised, District 2 would be at 51.39 and District 5 would be at 53.14.
Correct.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Commissioner Hernandez. So can we call for a vote now? Andrew, can you do a roll call?
Sure, let me make sure I got a lot of paperwork today. So give me a second. Got to make sure I have the list of the commissioners. Great. Commissioner Dahan?
Yes.
Commissioner Franco?
Can you come back to me, Andrew? Thank you.
Sure. Commissioner Gruel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Sorry, I'm crunching the numbers. Give me a second.
I'll come back to you. Commissioner Hurtado?
So I'm gonna say it in both languages, no and no. That was English and Spanish, by the way.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. And I get that. I could have gone a few more languages for me, make it a little more entertaining. Commissioner Johnson?
Okay. I am going to vote yes with the codicil that we're only talking about moving this map forward, because I heard some discussion about making more changes to this map. If that's going to be the case, I'm just going to be real confused. So I'll vote yes based on the motion that it's strictly an opportunity to move this map forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lopez Ledesma?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundquist?
No.
Commissioner Repenning?
Yes.
Commissioner Antonio Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Waite?
No.
Coming back to Commissioner Franco?
I think I'll say yes for the sake of having this conversation.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes, as a consideration moving forward, yes.
Commissioner Ambriz?
Yes.
And Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
That's approved on a 10-3 vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So now I'd like to go to Commissioner
Wait,
Franco.
wait, I was the first to raise my hand and I had a motion, but I didn't do it because you had one and I didn't want to mess up the process.
Oh, go, okay. Wait. Yes, going on. Commissioner Dahan?
So thank you. So in the spirit of just trying to give us clarity on what we're moving forward, I wanted to make a motion, since there seems to be momentum around 1A and now 2, I wanted to make an motion to take 1B out of consideration so that we can focus our conversation on 1A and 2 and work towards finding a compromise between there. But I think overwhelmingly public comment has not made a case for 1B, but more for 1A or 2. So that is my motion, and I'd ask someone to second it, please.
Second.
Who has the second? Sorry, who had the second?
That was Vice Chair Ambriz.
Vice Chair Ambriz, okay. Do we have, I know we have hands up on this. So we have Commissioner Hurtado, Commissioner Waite, Commissioner Franco, and Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, so if I may suggest something to the motion that was just made. So it's to push both forward. We just voted on the revised 2. So why don't we just focus on what's left, which is 1A and 1B, right? I mean, we've already voted 10-3 on the other. We're voting on it again. And by me saying yes on this new motion could imply that I'm supporting the change that I just voted no on. So
no, I don't think that was my intention in the motion. It's very clear to me at this point that we have 1A, and I understand Commissioner Franco is going to have some amendments to 1A. It sounds like, unless there's some that I'm aware of, it sounds like 2 is done, and this is the best that 2 is going to be, unless someone has something else to put forward. So I'm just saying, let's like we're fixing 1A, we're fixing 2. We haven't even done 1B. I think there's issues with 1B that are not consistent with the changes we have already made to 1A and to 2. So I'm just saying, let's make it easy for folks. Take 1B off the table that is not supporting 2 by default, because 1A is still there, and 1A is 1A and 2 at this point are the ones that we're deliberating on.
So
if that's
just to ask the question, would you say that your motion is not just saying it's 1A and 2, just saying you're taking 1B off the table, that your motion is that we only consider that we take 1B off the table?
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, thank you.
So I'd like to just get to people's comments, and then that way we go. So I had Commissioner Wade and then Commissioner Johnson, because I do know that a bunch of, so I don't know how many, but some commissioners said they're gonna have to leave after 7, and as soon after 7. So I want to get to Commissioner Franco's motion as well. So
Yeah, I totally agree with this motion. I think it's a great idea. I would also like to hear about how we are going to consider the maps by Ms. Roos, which I think are better than any of the other maps we have. And the fact that we're not talking about them, even if we decide we want to discard them, we should do that and not just not talk about them. I don't think that's showing a good, transparent policy on this.
okay, thank you, Commissioner Wade. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you. And I echo Commissioner Wade, because that was going to be my motion that I mentioned before, that we include the Roos map and any other maps that have been put on the table at some point. In fact, the way we're describing them is becoming confusing to me, so I can imagine it's going to be confusing to the public, the 1A, the 1B, the 2 revised, etc. But, I'm not opposed to moving 1B off the table, but I do want to have an opportunity to make the motion that we consider the other maps that have been presented to the commission.
Yes, and we will get to that. So I want to remind folks we will get to that. So Commissioner Franco and Commissioner Hernandez.
I just had a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, and it would mean an amendment to the motion, right? If we just remove 1B and replace it with the additional map that Commissioner Johnson just mentioned, for us to engage in a discussion with that. But that's if the commissioner accepts.
Yeah.
I just want to keep it to 1B so we can clear that, and then happy to entertain the other maps as a separate motion.
Yes, okay, thank you. Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to make a note. You mentioned some of the commissioners will have to leave at 7. And so I don't want to mess with the motion here, that process, but I would like to propose, or at some point make a motion to schedule another meeting between now and the 27th to make sure that we're clear. We're hearing a lot of different configurations and suggestions for maps, that we can be clear about all the maps before us before we go into our final commission meeting. So I don't know if I have to wait after this vote to make that motion, but I want to make sure that's on the table.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hernandez. Okay, so why don't we do a roll call for this one, so we can now go to Commissioner Franco after this, so, and then go to the other motion for accepting another map. So can we do a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Dahan?
Yes.
Commissioner Franco,
Yes.
Commissioner Gruhl,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurtado,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez Ledesma,
Yes.
Commissioner Lundquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Rapeni,
Yes.
Commissioner Antonio Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Waite,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ambriz,
Yes.
and Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. So let's move on. I will state, I want to just a reflection to Commissioner Hernandez. I know that you've been polled by staff. We understand that essentially we probably will not be able to deliberate on a final map today. And so we are figuring out which days. And remember, we still have to do the last meeting on the report. So we're trying to make sure that there's enough time for staff to both put together the report that we have to finally vote on once we agree on a map. So I'm not sure we need to do a motion on that, Commissioner Hernandez, because as chair, I could call for meetings, and I've already stated to some folks that we will be having another meeting because we will start losing quorum at some point tonight. So,
Okay,
so
well,
I
thank you
will
for that. I just want to make sure that we clarify and that
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
out there so that we all can.
yeah, so we could save some time there. So on that one. So I want to go now to now the next one was Commissioner Franco's motion. And so I want her to say it. I want her to say it and then get a first and a second. And then we can go into discussion. I know folks already have their hands up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chair. So based off of last week's commission, right, we looked at, and we've engaged a number of sala leaders, right, that wanted to really give feedback and again, in support of that, reaching a compromise, right? So what we've done here, and thank you, Andrew, for your support. This was definitely interesting. I think one of the things that you'll see here in this map, and Andrew, if you don't mind going over some of the additional detail, if additional questions come, but the motion would be to accept this map as a revision to the 1A revised by the chair last week. So at the end, right here at the bottom of where District 7 and District 5 meet, there was an addition of a portion of the Florence Firestone section to District 5, which then resulted in some changes to District 7, right? So it was by those 110 on the bottom between District 1 and District 7. It would have to pick up population there. And then with District 1, then it causes for population to be picked up at the top. Thank you, Chair, for your help with your arrow. So my motion is to introduce this for conversation, for us to continue to engage in this specific conversation when it comes to 5.2 and addressing that.
I'll second that.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Waite. Do
I'm
you have any
sorry,
other
I have a
comments, Commissioner Waite?
Just something real quick.
Yeah.
I have ex parte communications. Didn't get a chance to say that earlier.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Just throw it in right now. Sorry.
Yeah. So 11:30 yesterday morning with my board member Tanya Ortiz Franklin.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I have Commissioner Johnson hand up, and then another commissioner. So and then Commissioner Hurtado.
Yes, I wanted to know, are we going to go over the numbers in this map and how does it change if we are moving, since it is, in my estimation, I guess, different than the two that we just moved forward. So this is another map we want to move forward. So I'd like to hear those same numbers and whether how they change.
Yeah, Andrew, do you happen to have a summarized version of that?
Yeah.
If you give me a
Yeah, let's give Andrew some time again. So let's get through some other public comments as Andrew kind of puts those together. Is that fine, Commissioner Johnson? Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Hurtado and then Commissioner Rapeni.
Yeah, so, I lost the map. I guess everybody did. So is this, Dr. Franco, is this to replace 1B? Did I understand you correctly?
No, so this was taking the 1A, the revisions that a chair made to last week's 1A, so the revised 1A essentially, and just making the minor addition at the bottom there that prompted the other changes.
Yeah, so I kind of sort of briefly took a look at it. I had a very busy couple of days and I saw this and I thought this was very well thought of. So the numbers jive. I think this is outstanding. I really appreciate the work that you, Dr. Franco, and whoever you worked with and Sela put together. This looks very doable. So no, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know we've, yeah, sorry, I was just gonna add, I know we removed 1B, so I think, whether we want to make it a revised 1A or 1B, but looking at that piece.
Yeah, and the important thing is that, this, Mr. Chair, this is, I guess, what you had brought up, but with some changes to it, minor changes to it. And so to me, this looks like a compromise. This is going in the right direction. It's your idea enhanced by people in the Southeast area. And I think this is what the process should look forward to. So I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for starting this, and you, Dr. Franco, for enhancing it. And I hope that this is something that people can go by. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurtado. And then we have Commissioner Rapeni and Commissioner Dahan.
Sure. I just wanted to ask, for the benefit of the public, we're only seeing the bottom part of the map. So it might be important for, I actually don't know what the general public sees, but what I can see is it stops at Silver Lake. So is there a way to zoom out?
Commissioner Rapeni, there are no changes up there to the current revised map 1A. What this shows you is just the changes which are being made to districts 5, 7, 1, and 4. In the amendment by Commissioner Franco, there are no changes to District 2, and there are no changes that are not visible on the screen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I wanted to thank you, Commissioner Franco, for also contributing to this process of, continuing to come forth with a response to, the feedback we've been getting, and putting new ideas on how to continue to move the ball towards a compromise. So I appreciate the work that you and others have put into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rapeni. Commissioner Dahan, and then Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you. So that, similar to Commissioner Rapeni, my question and trying to understand the new map was what the compromise was for Board District 2 on the top, since if I understand the map correctly, it strengthens it for 5. So I was just curious what the compromise would be for Board District 2 and the folks who've been concerned about, I think that concern is really centered around the top. Sorry, children. The second question I had, so I'd love, and I don't want to make an assumption, so it's a question, so there may be an answer, so I don't want my comment to be construed as a opinion or an accusation. I just want to understand the implications for Board District 2 in the spirit of compromise. And then my second question is related to the impacts to Board District 1 and 7. It seems like today we heard a lot from folks in Board District 1. So just also curious how this impacts that district, and also curious specifically when we get the numbers from Andrew, how this impacts how it will impact 1. And then I'm thankful we're going to have another meeting, because I definitely think we want to hear more from folks that would be impacted by this, because this would be, if we adopted this would be the first time we'd be making significant changes to 1 and 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dahan, and then Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, everyone. And again, I want to thank all of my colleagues, all the commissioners, for their hard work. I would like to see the whole map specific to this region for a number of reasons. So if we do get an opportunity, whoever's running that display, that screen, I want to see the map, because the term gerrymandering has been thrown around a lot. And I I think the visual here will be helpful just to understand that these districts do have various shapes. They have many curves, and that could work. So I would love to see the whole map just for a point of reference.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. And then we have Commissioner Hernandez and then Vice Chair Breeze.
I believe Commissioner Lundquist was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lundquist. Commissioner Lundquist, and then Hernandez.
Thank you. Commissioner Franco, I want to thank you also for the work that you've done to bring forward a compromise. And there are a lot of things that I really like about this map. And a concern that I have is the impact to districts 1 and 7, as Commissioner Dahan mentioned. And we had a number of public commenters come forward today and talk about districts 1 and 7, which I was, the current maps that we have, that we had put out, districts 1 and 7 were the same as one another, yet public commenters were talking about a specific map with respect to districts 1 and 7. And my concern is that, this impacts 1 and 7, and we haven't had the chance to hear the public's reaction to these kinds of changes in 1 and 7 yet. So I'm glad that we are having another meeting, but what I would offer is a friendly amendment to your motion to enable us to keep the current Run A on the table and have this be another option rather than a revision to the 1A, so that we can consider a map that doesn't impact 1 and 7, stays with what we've been telling the public we would do in 1 and 7, but isn't map 2. And then offer this also as another option so that we can hear public comment about 1A, the revised 1A that we currently have, and this map. So I don't know what number you would want to call it, if it would be 1B revised or if it would be a whole different number, but I would like to see both instead of a replacement.
Commissioner Franco, you have a friendly amendment. It's up to you if you want to accept.
Yes, I can accept that. Can we just call it 3 though, so we don't keep confusing ourselves with 1A and 1B?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Hernandez? So go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I was just going to say I'm ready for those numbers for Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, let's get through these final speakers and then we could go back. So sure. Commissioner Hernandez, Vice Chair Breeze, and then I had Commissioner Sanchez, you have your hand up or you put it back down? Okay, let's go. Commissioner Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, I also want to uplift the fact that we have this other option, and it was great hearing from some of the Southeast leaders and see where we've landed, especially that Florence Firestone area, having seen the way that that community is of interest to the Southeast. And I actually wanted to hear more of the numbers. So I know Commissioner Johnson asked for them. So I'm happy to go into that. And then if I have any follow-up questions based on those numbers, I'm happy to just add to that. But I also wanted just the same information aside of the population, CVAP, but also voter registration. And not only for Latinos, but also for some of the other demographics as well.
Yeah. So once again, we're gonna get can we get to Vice Chair Breeze and then we're gonna get everybody? Is that fine?
No problem, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'll wait until Andrew is able to present. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so once again, Commissioner Hernandez, we don't have white registration numbers. We don't have Black registration numbers. The Asian registration numbers that are put out need to be compiled. And so there's at least 20 categories that need to be compiled into one to be able to calculate that, which I cannot, I certainly can't do while I'm screen sharing. But that being said, under Commissioner Franco's amendment, and I'm just going to talk about the numbers in Districts 5 and 1. In District 5, and remember, we already went through all the other numbers for 5, so I'm not going to repeat them. So at 5 in this version has a white CVAP of 19.22, has a Black CVAP of 8.87, has a Latino CVAP of Is that right? Hold on one second. Give me just a second here. Yeah, so it has a Latino CVAP of 59.38 and a Asian CVAP of 11.34. Under this version, District 5 has a Latino registration of 53.39. In terms of District 1, under the, let's see, make sure I got it right here. Yeah, so under the current map for 1, right, not the ones that are before us, but under the current district map, the white CVAP is 21.01, the black CVAP is 39.52, the Latino CVAP is 30.23, and the Asian CVAP is 7.81. Under maps 1A and 2, and commissioners recall that the map is exactly the same for District 1 in both of the versions. The white CVAP is 21.53, the black CVAP is 39.87, the Latino CVAP is 31.42, and the Asian CVAP is 8.71. Under Commissioner Franco's amendment, the white CVAP is 20.87, the black CVAP is 38.24, the Latino CVAP is 30.22, and the Asian CVAP is 9.34.
May I ask a clarifying question about that, Andrew?
Yes.
Sorry, Commissioner Hernandez, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I was just going to ask Andrew, thank you for sharing those numbers. I'm wondering if we can capture all that in some type of a summary, just so that it's easier to reference and do like a side-by-side comparison. I have a lot of post-its going on over here and it's not working for me right now. So
no, certainly depending on where the commission goes this evening, we'll have our demographer Preeti put out another version of maps with the data. And so all of that will be captured and available with the maps that are still on the table for commission's consideration. Certainly if the commission decides on a final map tonight, then we'll just be on that final map. But if there's multiple maps, then we'll do as we've done in I think 3 renditions so far.
And then would it be possible just to keep the map up as we continue to reference?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just no, I appreciate that. It's just difficult to pull down all those numbers for you and have my screen share because I can't access my computer. So.
Oh, apologies. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's just it just makes it a little difficult.
Thank you again, Andrew.
Okay. Vice Chair.
And just lastly, Commissioner Chair Sanchez, Commissioner Antonio Sanchez had asked to see the entire map, and so certainly. This is the entire map, and so we can certainly look at other versions. But as you can see, there's no change to District 2 in this amendment.
Yeah. Thank you, Vice Chair Brees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Andrew, we owe you some balloons or something after this. Thank you for your flexibility on the fly. I guess I wanted to see if you could help us summarize some of the data beyond kind of the table that I know was asked for. In this map from the current 1A version, does this map strengthen Latino CVAP numbers in districts 2 and 5 in map 3, Wilma's version?
So once again, there are no changes to District 2 in this version. There's only changes to Districts 5, 7, 1, and 4. And so once again, for District 5, District 5 goes from map 1A right now, it's 58.4 Latino CVAP, and this amendment would take it to, hold on, 58.4. Like once again, I have the wrong numbers in front of me.
59.3, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. So 59.38 would be the Latino CVAP in 5. What was the other thing that you asked, Commissioner Ambrose?
I had asked about 2, but you answered that by saying there were no changes to District 2.
Correct.
Any other questions, Vice Chair? Okay. Commissioner DeHaan?
Thank you. I just wanted to give Commissioner Franco, as I'm trying to decide how I will vote on this, I would like to just give her the opportunity to explain why, if there's no changes to 2, how this is a compromise and why we need to impact 1 and 7.
Definitely. So thank you, Commissioner, for that. So I think on the compromise conversation, right, I think we, from what we hear from the Southeast, right, it's looking at what the chairman has already made revisions to, right? So it was looking at the revisions from the original 1A, right? And just adding some pieces. A lot of the feedback that we heard from the Southeast, right, in previous conversations was around that Florence and Firestone, right? Like there was conversations around adding the entire piece, which we had shared in terms of numbers would not be feasible. I believe we had previously said it was like 120,000 individuals, right, that would be added. So that just wouldn't be feasible. So when we look at just the portion of it, while that would increase the CVAP, right, it does also cause the additional changes in the other districts. But as Andrew was reviewing, right, in some of these cases for District 1, I know some of the considerations were around the Black CVAP. That was a decrease of 1.5%. And then on the top piece, because we take that Florence piece, right, we add it to District 5, it results in having to pull population from other districts. So we tried to look at pieces that would not necessarily cause major changes, but would be just minor kind of percentage changes on that piece.
Thank you. Sorry. So in light, I understand the rationale. So I guess in light of changes that were made to map 2 tonight in the spirit of giving the Florence section, I can understand that. But I guess in map 2, we were able to make those changes without impacting 1 and 7. So wondering, I guess I'm just kind of wondering, is there a way to address your concerns without negatively impacting 1 and 7, particularly my biggest concern being 1 and yes, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner DeHaan. I'm not sure, Commissioner Frank, if you have a response or we should move on.
Yeah, I think on the piece, right, we wanted to work off of what had already been revised, right? So we didn't want to continue to kind of touch on the piece, on the northern piece of it. And I think the biggest piece was the Florence Firestone conversation.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Johnson, and then I have my hand up as well.
Yes, thank you. A couple of comments. I think it was mentioned before about putting all of this data, and I would like to recommend, and I hope that's what you were getting at, is that we put together a matrix with all of the data on all the maps on one page so that we can compare it, even though it's going to be hard to compare all the maps, but at least if we have the data, we could compare it. Additionally, I really don't want to start calling this map 3 because we have other maps that I'm going to be making a motion about considering other maps. And so I think we're going to, if we keep renaming these maps, I'm happy we had 2. We had 1A, and now we're calling this 3 instead of 1A revised or 1A Commissioner Franco recommendations, or something that not only gives credit to Commissioner Franco, but also is specific to the map that she put together. Because, I'm going to be calling it the Roofs map. I don't want to give it a number because I think we start numbering and people are going to get confused about what was 3, what was 2, what was 1. So I'm hoping that's going to be even though I don't know that your motion said specifically that it was going to be called map 3, but I would hope that you would not call it map 3, but call it something that we recognize specifically the map that you put together as compared to the other one that we had before us. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rapeni? Going on.
Commissioner Repenning, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry,
I was
no
about to
worries
say.
that this late in the evening. I don't know if this has been discussed at previous meetings in detail, and I apologize if it has, but as we're looking for a way to, I guess, land this plane and bring it and kind of bring it closer to where we have something that is going to work for all the communities. I guess I wanted to ask about how, the fact that the election schedule has changed since the last 10-year cycle impacts this whole discussion. And I'd like to see whether there's a way that we can put that into the data that you're preparing, Andrew, to put out on all these maps, because obviously, school board elections used to happen like city council elections on their own cycle, and now they've been pegged to state and federal midterm elections, as well as presidential elections, depending on whether it's an even or odd district. And that, of course, is going to impact the turnout. And so I think it would be somewhat useful to if there's a way to project. I know we haven't actually done it yet for some of these places, but I think it'd be useful to, I think actually the last school board elections were pegged to a presidential, so maybe there is some modeling there. But I'm just thinking about whether that's a piece of this that could shed light on these maps. I know there's always the chance that there could be a special election, and we've seen that before recently in District 5. But it seems to me like it's worth talking more about. Thank you.
So in response to your inquiry, Commissioner Repenning, we do have access to, through the statewide database, voter registration data from the 2020 general, which is the data that I quoted this evening. We also have voter turnout data by those same ethnic subgroups. Once again, what the groups that we have information on are going to be Latinos and then a variety of Asian subgroups, Filipinos, Chinese, Japanese, et cetera, et cetera. There is no registration data that breaks down white or black in these groups, but certainly, after tonight, when we compile whatever it is that we're asked to compile for the commission for the next meeting, then certainly we can add that information into the sheet. So I think that would be helpful because it'll not only allow you to see the registration numbers, but also the turnout numbers for those ethnic subgroups.
Thank you. Any other follow-up question? Or is that good, Commissioner Penn? Okay. Commissioner Hurtado?
Yeah, so I had asked this question at the last time we met. And the question was, does map 2 stand any legal objections that may come about? And I raised this because this was brought up 10 years ago, only it was never challenged. And I don't want anybody to be under the impression that it must be legal because we have it and we dealt with it for 10 years. But it was never challenged in court. And I really, truly believe that had it been challenged, it might not have passed. So I asked staff at the last meeting, would this map 2 stand the challenge in court? And the reason I ask is because we're discussing about map 2, and if I feel that it might not pass and it's adopted, we're spinning our wheels. And I don't know that continuing to try to, push a little bit here, a little bit push there, just hoping that maybe people will say, okay, let's do it. Just know that what we have right now is just not good for the people in the Southeast area. You've heard from community leaders, and it's still a concern. And I can't, with good conscience, just continue to not bring up that issue. I would really hope, and I know maybe staff is not in a position where they can say, well, let me go ahead and let me look into this and see if it would stand. But I really think we have a problem, and that issue was raised again tonight by some of the speakers. So again, to try to push through something that might not pass is just, but okay, I mean, we're here. Thank you.
So there's a question from Commissioner Hurtado about this. I know we're not discussing map 2 right now, we're discussing map 1A, but.
Yeah, and I would defer that question to the city attorney's office. Harit,
Yes.
Are you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Hurtado, as we've said before, and even as we're discussing today, there are iterative changes being made to all of these maps, and we're just going to continue to review those changes. We won't be able to give you any type of conclusive advice on that front. The analysis requires quite a bit of exploration on data issues and determining whether there are any issues under any of the laws that apply here. So we will continue to review your work, and that will be an ongoing review, and identify any issues that we can when we have that information.
Well, and I appreciate that. I'm just concerned.
I mean, Commissioner Hurtado, can we go back to the motion at hand? We
Yes,
could have this discussion afterwards. Yeah, thank
okay
you.
with
Yeah.
that.
So so have Commissioner Dahan. I'm not sure if that was for previous or
no, it's
okay,
so I just wanted to point out something that was made that someone helped me see in the last week. If we pull up map 1A next to map 2, what we're doing in 1A is the inverse of what's in map 2. So I'm assuming in good faith that we are operating we're all trying to be legal here. So Commissioner Hurtado, when you use the argument that something's illegal, it is concerning to me, because when I look at map 1A, it's the inverse of map 2, which is what you're saying is illegal. So I just think that we would be better off focusing on the numbers, focusing kind of on our arguments. But I've heard that folks feel on the east side that it's a reversal. And so that is not to say we should do map 2, but I just think it's important to point that out. And I also want to point out that what we're doing now and considering map 3, which only strengthens map 5, is also concerning to me, because I think we're all going into this process not trying to give any specific community a greater advantage than another. And I also I understand the equity issues. That's different to me than trying to give communities an advantage over another, because as someone who grew up in Echo Park and now lives in Mount Washington, I think that people who live in Northeast LA could be offended by this thought that we're trying to strengthen a map against them. And that is not at all the intent. I think the intent is to find communities of interest. I think the intent is to make sure the numbers are accurate and we're following the laws. So I just cannot stay silent when I hear those arguments. I hear what you're saying about map 2. I hear what you want to make happen, but I just also have to share the other side of that.
If I may, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dahan, I would say that the major differences between map 1A and map 2, even though you may think the shapes are similar, they're not. Under the map 1A revised, the corridor that's built on the west side of District 2 that goes down to Pico Union includes entire high school attendance areas and is at least a mile wide in that corridor that comes down over there. Under map 2, under the revisions, some of that corridor is just a couple of blocks. And so you're talking several hundred feet as opposed to a mile wide. And so that's really the major differences between these two maps. While they may look similar in shape, they're not, because once again, this corridor that's right here, which is western to Vermont, is an entire mile. And so that's the main difference.
Yeah, and if I may, and again.
So out of respect, because we're gonna lose quorum, Commissioner Franco has a motion in front of us. I know we're gonna lose more folks. And then we won't be able to have action on this. So
Mr.
can
Chair, I just
we?
need to make this one comment, please, if you can just.
Okay, if we can move the motion, I'm just gonna let you all know.
I will.
I'm gonna let you all
I will do
know.
that.
This is out of order.
And again, my apologies if anyone's offended by me bringing up the legal issues, but I raised this question last time, and I think we all received a letter threatening with legal action if we proceed with this map 2. So we all got it. You got it. I got it. And so I'm just trying to avoid having to deal with something that we can avoid. And that's why I brought it up, Commissioner Tahan. I meant no disrespect to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hurtado.
So we have, I know we have a hand up from the city attorney's office, I believe. I'm not sure. That's city attorney? Yeah, it is, right?
It might have been me, it's Wendy. I just wanted to call the
Oh,
question.
sorry. Oh, okay.
Yes, calling the question on this motion, which I believe Commissioner Franco had made, which would allow us to have a map, the map that she's proposed to be considered, and that would be whatever we call it, either the Franco motion map or number 1, whatever it may be, that would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Breeze, do you have, I want to call it.
Yeah, I just wanted to also ask, I asked the same of the earlier motion, Commissioner Franco, I imagine that this advancement of the motion is also with the understanding that if there are adjustments that are needed to be made and some additional concerns, that we'd continue to explore that and have that in conversation. Is that your sentiment as well?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think we build off of what Chair Sanchez had suggested right in the amendments. We wanted to be respectful of that, but also make sure that the conversation around the, Florence Firestone being community of interest to Sella was also part of this conversation. But, I welcome any revisions and, as we move forward with this conversations.
Okay, great. Commissioner Gruhl?
No, sorry, I didn't do my, because I'm driving.
Okay, so I will say something before we do the roll call right now, because I've been waiting and with just calling on folks. The only concern with me is I'm trying to minimize maps, and it just feels like right now we got rid of 1B, we had 1A, and then we got an amendment for 1B. So it's hard for me to support this and moving forward if it's all of a sudden just creating another 1A and another 1B, because I know other folks are going to propose another map. So it's hard for me to support it if it's the friendly amendment, because then essentially we're just creating 2 maps, and then all of a sudden we're going to walk out of this meeting with like 4 maps, as opposed to really focusing on a 1A, a 2, and potentially I know I have another motion that may move forward around adding the Sarah Roos map. So that's where I'm at. And also I have concerns about the impact to District 1. I created the map that I proposed with a lot of those ideas in mind. Without having impact to 1 and minimal impact to 7, around those feeder patterns. So I do feel it's important that that's a critical piece as we think about that. And so that's the last thing. So let's just call the question. Let's do the roll call on this.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Dahan?
I need more time. Thank you.
Commissioner Franco?
Yes.
Commissioner Gruhl?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurtado?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, again, with my carousel, we keep saying, let's move them forward, but we still want to add more to it. And I'm voting yes in order to move this forward because I want to bring another map on the table. And I think we need to have all of the maps out there and not keep trying to shut down maps. So I'm going to vote yes on this, as long as we call it 1A Franco revisions and not 3, because we've already advertised the Roos map as 3 on the website, and let's not confuse the public anymore.
Thank you.
So yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez Ledesma? Commissioner Lopez Ledesma? We can't hear you. Thumbs up or thumbs down. There you go. Thank you. That worked well. Commissioner Lundquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Rapini,
Yes.
Commissioner Antonio Sanchez. Did we lose? Oh, there he is.
He's there.
You're muted, Commissioner Sanchez.
The Portugal Wi-Fi.
Yeah, why don't we, yeah. Well, we'll come back to you in a second,
Yeah,
Commissioner
keep going.
Sanchez, while you unmute yourself. Commissioner Waite,
Yes, and agreeing with the chairman and Commissioner Johnson that I wish we weren't creating another number, but yes.
Commissioner Dahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ambris,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez,
Sure.
Commissioner Sanchez, are you able to unmute yourself, or you want to give us?
Yeah,
There you
here we
sir.
go.
There you go.
Yeah, again, I truly do wish that we were not creating more maps at this point. I think an adjustment would have been, anyway, yes, let's move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. That passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Commissioners. So now we have a motion from Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we consider the Sarah Roos map along with the other two maps that we have voted to move forward today. It's been on the website. We've had some people speak in favor of it. She spoke in favor of it. And we've continued to talk about a compromise map. And we've tried to make compromises by adjusting the current maps. So I'd like to move that we have this fresh start with the Sarah Roos map to be sent out to the public and get some real comments on it. And have the numbers as part of the matrix. And maybe I'm extending this motion way beyond what it should be, but I'm just trying to get my thoughts out. But the motion is to consider the Sarah Roos map along with the other maps that we've moved forward at this meeting. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, great, thank you.
So, Commissioners, before we proceed with this motion, I would want to point out that District 7 in this map is non-contiguous, and so this is a blatantly illegal map. What it has is Westchester, Venice, and Mar
Which
Vista.
which map are you talking about?
The Sarah Roos map, the one that you're looking at right now, that's
Okay,
in front of you.
I just thought we weren't going to talk about what was illegal, and now we're already talking about something being illegal.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson, because this is a non-contiguous map. It's a basic rule of redistricting, and this should not be considered by this commission because it has a non-contiguous part of District 7, which is blatantly illegal. And so in this map, you have Westchester, Mar Vista, and Venice in District 7, but does not connect to District 7. And so I would deeply urge the commission not to consider this map because this would be thrown out in court right away.
Is this the latest map that she put forward this morning or yesterday morning?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll call myself, and then I know I have Commissioner Sanchez as well. My question with this one, because I know one of the things, wherever we may be at with map 1A, 1B, and 2, there's an agreement that we're keeping communities whole, right? And especially amongst the District 5 and 2 area where we've tried to make a solution or a compromise, whatever we want to say in that. There's been so many of these, so it's hard for me to figure out. So in this one, is it continued because they had split up Boyle Heights? Does this continue to split up Boyle Heights?
This one does
The
not
last one
split
I
up
saw, Boyle Heights was split up.
Yeah, so no, this one does not split up Boyle Heights.
Okay.
This is Alameda Street here, and so all of the Roosevelt High School attendance area is.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
But what in this map is District 5.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. We have a Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank you, Andrew, for pointing that out. So I would love to ask the city attorney, because I think this is pretty straightforward. This violates one of the basic principles of redistricting and of our jobs. when somebody says that the other maps were illegal, I would argue that that is more subjective, but this is clear that that district is not contiguous. And from my understanding, they need to be. So, Mr. City Attorney, can you answer that, please?
Commissioner Sanchez, as we've discussed in the criteria for redistricting that we presented to this commission before, it is required that districts be contiguous. So if this map has a non-contiguous District 7, that would not meet that fundamental criteria. So that it's a pretty straightforward criteria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson, do you have your hand up again? Or that from previous? Okay. Is there, Commissioner Sanchez, you have another question? Or I think you froze. Okay. So any other questions from commissioners? I mean, we could call a question on this now if there's no other questions or remarks. I don't see anyone. So let's do a roll call, Andrew, on this.
Yes, Mr.
Does there
Chair.
have to be a second though to vote on it? I don't recall a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
Yeah, we can hear. Commissioner,
Wade.
you need a second to vote on it?
Yeah, I did. And let me say that obviously it couldn't be approved as it's currently, as it currently sits, but that doesn't mean that it isn't generally preferable to the other maps, or certainly worthy of helping us to inform and improve the other maps.
Okay, thank you. So let's, folks, let's do a roll call. I know that this might be one of the last things before we lose.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner DeHaan.
Commissioner Johnson, I appreciate you wanting a process where we consider everything, but unfortunately, because this is not contiguous, I cannot vote in support of it, so my vote is no.
Commissioner Franco.
No.
Commissioner Gruhl.
No.
Commissioner Hernandez.
I want to echo Commissioner DeHaan on this, and unfortunately we'll have to vote no as well.
Commissioner Hurtado.
No.
Commissioner Johnson.
Given the mood of the commission, I'm going to vote yes simply because it was my motion, but I'm going to go along with the full vote.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lopez Ledesma.
No.
Commissioner Lundquist. Is Commissioner, did we lose? I think we lost Commissioner Lundquist. Commissioner Rapeni.
No.
Commissioner Sanchez.
No.
Commissioner Waite.
Well, I hate voting no on a motion that I seconded, but to be intellectually honest about it, I have to vote no, and at least we'll have one less to deal with.
Vice Chair Umbries.
No.
And Chair Sanchez.
No.
That fails on a 1 to 11 vote, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I think that's all we could handle tonight at this point. I know we're setting up another meeting. Hopefully, if you all haven't responded to staff, please do so we can set that meeting accordingly as quickly as possible. I want to move. Sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, we have gotten responses from commissioners, except for from yourself and from Commissioner Antonio Sanchez.
Okay.
At this point, at this point.
Well, I thought you already knew my time.
No,
okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, but in general, there is no time between on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which the entire commission is available. We have 8 commissioners that are available. And once again, these are the 11 responses that we got. We have 8 commissioners that are available at 4 p.m. on Friday. The commissioners who weren't available are Commissioners DeHaan, Hurtado, and Lopez Ledesma. And then the other time that makes any sense would be we also have 8 commissioners that are available at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And once again, Commissioner Lopez Ledesma, Commissioner Waite, and Commissioner Franco are unavailable. So it would appear that we certainly can't agendize a meeting tomorrow unless we started at roughly 8:30 p.m. But it would appear that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday do not work. I am unavailable on Monday. And so I don't know what that means in terms of a meeting, an additional meeting for the commission, but I wanted to report that out since Gladys did a wonderful job today reaching out to all the commissioners and getting that information.
Andrew, if I can jump in quickly, I'm most available Saturday, but if I have to make Sunday work, I will make it work. So just wanted to make it clear. I wasn't necessarily, saying Sunday was a total no. But
Gotcha.
what works best would be Saturday.
Okay.
Okay.
You could add me.
Yeah,
you could add me to that if as a potential. So where does that put us now?
That would put us at 10.
I imagine no one would want to meet on a Sunday, but in terms of getting the largest quorum right now.
I said I'm not. I would really rather not meet any of those times just because I have a lot of stuff going on with the family this weekend, and family first is actually real. But having said that, if we got to do it, I'll be there.
Okay.
I can miss my son's football game on Sunday.
Well, maybe we can work around that.
It's terrible.
And we have a couple of days. Okay.
Yeah.
Who else was? Sorry, who was the other person?
Commissioner Antonio Sanchez.
Are you on a plane?
Unfortunately, I'm not available until Monday.
Ooh, okay.
So that,
I just wonder, what are we going to accomplish, though, to be legit here? What's one more meeting going to get us? And I wish that I had an answer to that, and I just don't know. I think we're down to really 2 maps at this point, with little variations of them, and we need to pick one. And
yeah, that's what we're going to accomplish, right?
Yeah. So
that's what and then we need enough time for the report to be produced so we could vote on it. We might have to punt the Wednesday meeting to like a Friday. We have till the 29th, right, to vote on something?
We have until the 29th to send the report to the council.
Yeah.
I was just going to say something. I can't remember what it was. It's getting late. So my apologies.
What about a Tuesday? If we can do Sunday, if we're missing, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure like all 13 are here for this final vote. I don't want to like make a decision with only 11, with only 8.
I have a council
which are
meeting
right now. So
yeah, I mean, certainly it's very difficult to get this commission together on a Tuesday, Mr. Chair. I mean, if we were going to go that route, we might as well just use the Wednesday meeting that's already scheduled.
Let's just do the Wednesday meeting, and then if we need another one after that, you have time, and you probably don't need everyone at that final meeting, right?
That is.
Don't you have to do the report? When do we?
No,
how do we?
We do. We do, but now it gives us more time to reschedule the final one, right? So we could work backwards. Can people do Friday? Next Friday? Can people hold Friday?
Friday the 29th?
Yeah.
But isn't that when the report needs to be submitted?
Well,
or just adopting it, right?
Yeah, the goal would be just to adopt the report. Certainly, if the commission, commission decides on a map on Wednesday of next week, we can put a lot of the report together, but we can't put any of the narrative on the report or the report statistics and that sort of thing. So, it certainly puts the staff in a bind to get a good report out to the council. But that being said, we're work at the pleasure of the commission, and we'll do it however the commission wants to.
Okay, so why don't I think we got a plan here, Commissioner Hernandez.
Yeah.
We have to just work. I'll help with that, and then people respond, and then we'll have staff finalize whenever that last meeting is.
Mr. Chair, I just want to advocate that if we could do this sooner, the better. I know a lot of us have family commitments, myself included. I have family coming in from out of state, but I'm committed to this. This is our last hurrah. We have one more week. If we can do this again in the next few days, so that Wednesday would be, that last day, and if we needed an extra buffer, we can. But I also don't want to put our staff in a position where they won't have the time that they need to develop the report that should be, produced in order to capture our thoughts on this. So I would vote on something sooner rather than later. I do not want to push it off for next Friday personally. And that would be.
And how much time are we looking for? Because again, I really wish I could give up Friday and Saturday. I just cannot. And it's not a family thing. These are things that I've committed with the city and with my school activities, and there's nobody to replace me on them. So we don't need a lot of time, and everybody's available on Sunday, even if it's a few hours, I don't know, again.
Yeah, there was a couple folks, I mean, or one at least, you know, so I don't, you have raised hands. I don't want to spend time because this could go forever on just figuring out how we do scheduling. I would lean on, if people could just respond, we have a couple options in front of us. And Wednesday's the backup, the default, but worst case scenario, we're trying to see if we could rearrange some stuff on the other days. So Commissioner Franco?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, it sounded like a lot of us were willing to make Sunday work, so.
Yeah, and to that point, Commissioner Franco, 12 of the 13 commissioners are available based on the comments that were made this evening at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Commissioner Antonio Sanchez is not available that day.
Yeah. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, my recommendation is if we meet on Sunday, those that aren't available, we're down, it's my understanding, to only 2 maps. And so those that aren't available can express their pros and cons to the 2 maps and send in a proxy vote or send in information about how they would vote so that they're not left out, because it's my understanding we're not making any more changes to what we put forward based on the motions. So that would be my recommendation, is to have that next meeting, look at the 2 maps and make a decision on those 2 maps that we have moved forward.
Yeah, okay. I will make a decision as chair. I will help set up the meeting. We already agreed to have a meeting, so we just have to work towards when that date is. So Commissioner Rapeni?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think it is important to have everyone there at the final meeting. And I think, Andrew, you had told me earlier on in this process that you had, baked in a little bit of extra time. I'm sure we're not up against, so to me, I think if I were you, Mr. Chair, you'd rather have everyone at the final vote, and if that means not having everyone at the meeting where we produce the report. I don't even know what that means, producing the report, but I'm guessing that it's not as important as the final vote. So that's just my advice. And by the way, I also just want to say, I don't know that we said anything today that means that no more other changes could be introduced. I know probably no one wants that, and we still actually have 3 maps on the table. There were 3. So I don't think there's any, I don't agree that, no other changes can be introduced. So I don't think that we said anything along those lines tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we got enough information to move forward and just wait on, the actual set for this date. So can we, I don't know if we're going to do an outreach report or executive director's report, Andrew, given how late it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can take a pass on the outreach report. You'll see it all in the final report. What I would say in terms of my report, the only thing I'd like to mention is that last week, the interpreter vendor for the city of Los Angeles had contacted the commission and basically, because of lack of payment from the city, not from the commission, but from other departments in the city, had canceled all the city's appointments. Apparently they had reinstated our appointment today and did not know that until about 45 minutes before the commission. And so we had made other arrangements. And so with that in mind, I do plan on adding an item to the agenda to do a contract amendment for North Star Alliances to the tune of $3,500 to pay for the interpreters that had backfilled the work from the interpreter vendor from the city of Los Angeles. So that's the only thing I have to mention tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thanks, all. Have a good night. Go
Good
tell the
night.
Dodgers.
Thank you.
Night. Go Dodgers. Fingers crossed.